Well, hi there, everybody, and welcome once again to Dialed In. I'm Tom Brenneman alongside Luke Brenneman. Luke, good morning.
Good morning.
How we doing?
Good. How are you?
Pull that mic up a little bit.
It's
Get
there.
that thing sticking up a little bit.
I think it's there.
Is it all right, Casey McCollister, our producer engineer, man of extraordinary talent?
I think it's okay.
It's okay, but he could raise it up a little, right? Don't be nice. Just tell him like it is.
I got it.
Yeah, you can get
All
it
right. Golly day. Well, good morning, everybody. New work week, a new month, the month of July. Now, don't forget, we come your way Monday and Friday at 9:15 in the morning, just before off the bench gets started, and the crew going to get everything lined up starting today. Is that right, Casey? Like an all-new look to off the bench starting today?
Yeah, that's right. We have Kenner. Kenner's going to be
Justin Kenner, great dude.
Yeah, we're going to have Kenner on the show, and that's going to be permanent. We got a new intro. We have streamlined the process to become a little better prepared for the shows and things like that. So we're excited to implement some of that stuff and to incorporate it in the show. So
okay, well, hopefully Luke and I can be a good lead-in for the show, right?
Right.
We're all on one stream today.
That's right.
Okay.
All in one stream.
Okay. All right. So we got lots to talk about, but again, for the time being, we come your way Monday through Friday, 9:15 a.m. That could change as we get closer to football season, as far as the Friday part is concerned. But we'll see. We got to figure it out. Luke, you're going to be back at IU. How do you go to IU and wear a TCU sweatshirt? How does that happen?
It's just a sweatshirt. It's not that deep. I think it's a cool sweatshirt. Ella goes to TCU, my sister. It's her birthday today, so maybe there was something there. I totally just realized that as I was saying it, but I don't have too many sweatshirts, all right?
Okay.
Well,
you have a
shout
problem with
out.
that, Casey? I mean, would you walk around with a UC or Miami sweatshirt, something like that? If you
Whoa.
went to
That's like a
NKU?
rival.
Yeah, that is a rival.
Okay, well then how about would you wear a TCU sweatshirt if being an NKU guy?
I personally don't wear things I didn't go to or have like a fandom in.
Right.
Like I used to have some UC shirts. I had some Ohio State shirts when I was a fan of Ohio State. Fell out of love with both programs and fell in love with NKU and Miami because I work at Miami.
All right,
so I
fair
have
enough.
a bunch of Miami and NKU.
You know what I might start doing? Have you seen those online shopping sites where you can just put in an order for like a medium-sized hoodie, and it's just going to randomly choose from like any major sports league or college in the country,
There's
any
a place you
sport,
can do that?
and it's just going to send you a random one.
Or a fair price of fill in the blank.
No, yeah, obviously it's
Yeah.
going to cost much, but I'm just saying you don't know what you're buying. You're just like, I'm going to do a hoodie of a college or
That's pretty
professional
cool.
sports team. So like you could get the Seattle Kraken, and you'd be the only guy in Cincinnati walking around with the Seattle hockey team on.
Yeah.
I mean, some people are into that, but
Yeah.
it's kind of the premises.
Okay. All right. I got it. All right. But we'll be seeing what happens here moving forward as to what day we're going to be around. We do post on the Believe Network every Monday and Friday. You can download us anywhere, anytime. Just search Dialed In with Tom Brenneman, and you are dialed in. Now, look, for the Reds, this weekend series was pretty much a microcosm of the entire month of June. A month where they won 13 games and they lost 13 games. They look great on offense for 2 games, and then they get shut out in the other 2 games. They outscore the Cardinals 20-11 over the weekend, yet they are no closer in the National League Central than when that 4-game series began. Hunter Greene, you tell me. You tell me what you think. Now, I can watch a guy on television, and I can clearly see a guy who looks almost unhittable. I can see a guy who gives up 1 run. I can see a guy also who's averaging barely over 5 innings per start. That's what I see. And you got to take him out because he's up to 95 or 100 pitches. I am not beating down Hunter Greene. He is still young. But I got to tell you, this was a game that you needed to win. You are going for the series win against a team that is ahead of you in the division. And you've got your number one guy on the mound. By far and away your best arm. By far. There are 27 outs in a baseball game. Okay? So we do 1, 2, 3, 4 times 3 is 12, right? Hunter Greene got 14 of the 27 outs you needed to win the game. That ain't going to get it done. And look, I know the offense stinks. That's obvious. They're lucky they didn't get no hit by Lance Lynn. But it's a month where you had a 7-game winning streak, then you lose 12 out of 17 to end the month. And this is where we're going now with today's show, Luke. July is called go time. I call it go month. You go to work to winning games and getting over 500, because if you start the month of August under 500, the chances are unbelievably likely that you are not going to be in the postseason. If you start August under 500, your chances are slim and none, even as bad as the National League is this year, because it's bad. But you either get back in it, or it's time to make big-time decisions about who you're keeping and who you're not.
Yeah, I mean, we always go back to where the Reds are over the course of the playoff picture or number one in the NL Central. At the end of the day, I think the biggest splash that the Reds have made in this new rebuild that they're in is last year at the deadline when we got rid of, or was that 2 years ago, when they got rid of Castillo and Maui. That was like the big move where they were like, we're selling, we need younger prospects, we're going to start from scratch with this young core. And to be completely honest, being 5 games under 500 going into July isn't the worst place to be in the entire world when you look at the overall course of the rebuild. Yeah, there's been spurts where they've gone on winning streaks and shown really good baseball to where the fans have maybe a reason to say, hey, this could be a playoff team. But to your point, it's as easy as that. There's not much debate to be talked about the Reds right now. You have a good July, and you go and potentially stay what you're doing, hope to get these pieces back that have been injured and beat up, maybe go get someone. I think that is out of the picture in my personal opinion. I know Reds fans wouldn't love to hear that, the ones that want them to go this season, but if you don't have a good July, it's sell time, and you continue the rebuild and vamp up for next year.
All right, let's start with, I agree with you what you just said. I do not think the Reds are going to be in buy mode.
Ever. I don't think they were ever supposed to be in.
Well, I think that if they had their regular players there all year long, had they had Encarnacion Strand be the player we thought he would be, McLean didn't get hurt in spring training, Friedel didn't get hurt in spring training. Look, I normally don't like using injuries as excuses because I got to tell you, I don't know if anybody's paid attention to the Milwaukee Brewers. Remember now, they traded away their Cy Young candidate, number 1 starter Corbin Burns, who might win the Cy Young in the American League this year. Their number 2 starter, Brandon Woodruff, is out for the year. Wade Miley has been injured and out most of this year. Very valuable piece of that rotation. Rock solid starter. Okay? And where are they? They haven't had their closer all year long, Devin Williams. They've used 14 different starting pitchers. And they are running away right now in the National League Central. That may not last. But right now, big lead. Playing great. But look, had the Reds had these other guys, and you can't truly evaluate this team because of the injuries. I normally don't like to say that, but these are key, crucial guys. Everyday guys, contributor, that they have not had. And their starting pitching's been pretty doggone good. Bullpen's been pretty doggone good. Good enough to win a lot more games if the offense could do anything. So I think they could have been potentially buyers if they were having a better year. But now you start asking yourself, if they don't go in July, I want to talk about India for a minute. He's playing the best baseball since his rookie year.
Yep.
He was a guy everybody wanted run out of town this time last year. Now, all of a sudden, at least today, he's their best player. He's been their best player in the month of June. I know Ellie's having a better year. I understand that. But right now, he's their best player by far. Is he all of a sudden back in your good graces and you're going to keep him for the long haul, or deal him while his stock market value is the highest it's been since he first put on a uniform?
Yeah, and I think that with how scarce offense has been in the entire MLB this season, a guy who's coming off a month with the first time ever in his career, granted he's a rookie of the year in his career too, where he had an OPS over 1,000 for an entire month. I mean, his batting average is getting close to 280 right now on the season, and Jonathan India was god-awful to start the season. So it's a testament to how hot he is right now. I don't know if he's going to stay hot, because if the word is he's on fire right now, that means he's going to slow down. That's not his everyday play. So to your point, if he does have a good July, with how scarce offense is in the MLB, I think you could get a very high return on investment for a Jonathan India at the trade deadline. He still has a full month of baseball to play, but so do the Reds. You look ahead past the Yankees, they have 10 straight games against the worst two teams in the National League. Reds rip off 7 of the 10, and now we're close to 500, and we're looking at each other. Are the Reds suddenly buyers? I said the Reds should never be buyers because they're in the midst of a rebuild. If you can get like a slight buy and go get, maybe a bullpen arm or something that doesn't cost you anything, then do it if you actually have a chance and want to go make a push for the playoffs. But right now with Jonathan India, I don't think the trade deadline, I'd say it's pretty appealing, because this is a guy they wanted to deal last year and wanted to move positions over the offseason. So he's finally finding a place in the Reds because he's hitting 280. Is he going to keep it up? Nobody knows.
All right, so you got India. You know what? We say rebuild, and Lord knows we have said that word pertaining to this franchise ungodly amounts of time. And I give Nick Kroll, the general manager, all the credit in the world. He has done very well in terms of making trades. Their best player, really, people talk about their great minor league system. Most of their best and highly touted guys, now not in the starting rotation, but I'm talking about position player-wise, have come over in deals made by Kroll. Encarnacion Strand, you got Spencer Steer. And then you got some free agents sprinkled in there too. But I just sit there and say to myself, okay, wait a minute. What have we learned so far this year about the Reds, besides the fact that they're under 500 and you just never know what you're getting? They're interesting, I'll say that, because you never know what you're going to get every night. So they're worth watching. But, I mean, if you're sitting there saying, who are we counting on moving forward? The one thing you can say about India is he gets on the field. He plays. He's not hurt, right? Ellie De La Cruz plays, not hurt. Steer plays, not hurt. McLean was having injury issues before he injured his shoulder in spring training. Friedel has been on the DL 3 times this year. Now, you can say freak things, and you're right, 3 times this year. Every time you turn around, Fraley can't get on the field. It's always something, right? They're dealing with this Candelario thing. Lodolo, his middle initials ought to be IL. Every single year, this guy's on the injured list 2 or 3 times. I mean, what do you really know about your rebuild? Besides the fact that you can't count on half the guys that you need for the rebuild.
Right, and that's what makes this argument somewhat of a debate, because it's like, do we know the Cincinnati Reds after, year 2, year 3 of a complete rebuild? And obviously that word's different with the free agent market, but I just think that it's tough to say this is a correct, concrete decision in anything regarding the trade deadline right now, because the entire team, let alone 60% of the team, hasn't been healthy this entire season. So in my opinion, I think you go out there, maybe you keep, I'm team deal India and get something and have more to be excited about maybe next year or in the future. But there still could be someone that says, hey, we may have a point in just rolling the dice, going out and playing every day with whoever's healthier can show up to play today, see how we finish the year, and come next year, or at least the second half of the season, at least 80% of our rosters healthy, and maybe something can happen, because it is like a new lineup every single day.
It is, and I just don't know. I never beat up India. I'll beat up some other guys, but I've never beaten him up. I didn't think he was going to be a really good player when he first came to the big leagues. I'll be the first to admit it. And he's had 1.5 good years, and he's had 2 down years. But the guy is a gamer. He shows up, unquestionably is a leader. So I think there are a number of things to like about India, especially considering the fact that he takes the field. But here's the issue. If you remember going back to spring training, and Luke, you brought it up, India was supposed to change positions this year. He was supposed to play a little bit of second. Remember? Okay, McLean was going to be the second baseman, Ellie the shortstop. He's going to play a little second, a little bit of first. He played some first base in spring training. He would DH a little bit. And he agreed to start taking balls in the outfield. Now, I'm sure he's not continued to do that. I could be totally wrong. I don't know. I'm not at batting practice every day. Gates aren't open then, so you can't tell if guys are out there working on fly balls in the outfield. But if you keep India, part of his playing time moving ahead to next year, or even when McLean comes back, if he does come back this year, is going to be in the outfield. You still don't know if he can do it. I got to tell you, I just don't think you're going to get, even with his trade value being the highest it's been since his rookie year. He's still a young man. He's still 2 years removed from arbitration because you signed him to a 2-year contract for like $8 or $9 million. It's a very good contract for the team. I got to keep this guy. I can at least count on him playing.
Yeah, and there was always the argument that this is like the captain, the guys that everyone rallies around, and he loves being a Cincinnati Red, to where if you're going through what I continue to use as a rebuild, who really is that young spark? It felt like Votto was almost the dad of the group last year, and now without him, who is that guy? Because Hunter Greene is probably the most talented outside of Ellie, but he doesn't really seem to show captain tendencies, considering he's always making rehab starts the last 2 years in the minor leagues.
Right.
Then you have a guy like Ellie De La Cruz, who, credit to Ellie, his English is getting really good.
Yeah, it is.
But he's not all the way there yet to be, the core vocal contributor to this baseball team when it comes to the standpoint of just his age and maturity in the league. I think India's been around the locker room long enough to where he is like the guy. He can rally the troops.
Yep.
And holding on to him outside of just his production and statistics for the rest of the season could go a long way for the sake of the rest of the ball club.
The other guys who you would think about that are going to be up there is Alexis Diaz. There's going to be a team in the hunt that is going to be looking either for a closer because theirs is hurt or not pitching well, or they're looking for a guy who has closer stuff that can maybe pitch the 8th inning for him. And the Reds really have 2 guys that fit that bill. Diaz, as far as being able to pitch the 8th, and Fernando Cruz. Now, you probably can't trade both of them unless you just got blown away, because you're going to need one of them to be your closer next year. But again, here you have a situation where the value of Fernando Cruz probably will never be higher. The value of Alexis Diaz has not been higher after a slow start to the season. Do you consider trading either one of those guys if you have to trade?
I think that teams would have their eyes on Fernando Cruz more than an Alexis Diaz, because I think Diaz had a year where he was an all-star closer last year. To his team and management, they have something to hold their hats on where, say, we had a full year of a closer with this good of numbers. He deserves closer money, because there is a big difference between setup guy money and closer money. So I don't think Alexis Diaz is just going to be okay with getting traded to some team where you're a, very competing playoff contender right now, but they're going to say, hey, we're going to turn you into a setup guy. I don't think he's going to be okay with that. Whether he has to do it and likes it is one thing.
Yeah.
But he's in a position where I think he can close that door a little more than Fernando Cruz. That's a door opening for a guy like him because he's had a little bit of a surprising good first half of this season, and now he definitely has some value as a setup guy right now.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Bottom line is it's go time. It's go month for the Reds. Either go big and start winning or go home, and I just don't think they have the horses on offense. I wish I could say otherwise. I wish we were sitting here talking about McLean, Encarnacion, Strand, all of these guys playing and contributing, Friedel, Fraley, Steer. I don't know what's happened to that dude. Casey, are you watching much of the Reds, or have you kind of thrown in the towel on them?
No, I've been watching from time to time.
What do you think about all this? I'm curious to hear your opinion on this.
So the Reds, to me, are just the epitome of inconsistency. I don't know what to make of them. You can't ever give anyone too much credit because the next 2 weeks they're going to just be a 150 hitter. Like, it just – I don't know what to make of them, Tom, because they score 20 runs in a 4-game series, and they split the series. It's like – they can go off at any point, and they can stink it up at any point. Their future, I think a lot of the fans' hope and morale around this team was going to be Marte and how he performed. Game 1 looked phenomenal. I don't know where he's at right now at the moment.
0 for since.
Yeah, 0 for since.
But it's only a couple of games, so okay.
So we got to wait and see what that's like. But, man, they got to avoid injuries, too. Like, it's not going to just be one guy. Some of these guys have to get back healthy. I don't know what Friedel's status is at the moment, but he's got to come back, too.
It's going to be a while.
For me, this team, if they can somehow still manage, and we've been saying it now, I feel like, for a couple months, if they can manage to just kind of, like, tread water, play 500 ball, wait for everyone to get healthy, and then really turn it on, right? I know you said July is your month where you got to really get it going. I think if they can manage to coast by until like August, maybe.
There have been teams that have done it in August. There have been teams, been a lot of them, you were going to say.
I'll say this, and it's to Alex's point in the chat where he says Steer is never going to be a star. And Casey, everybody has to agree with him. This team is nothing but inconsistent, but that's a lot of sports in general, and that is the batter's box in baseball for most guys.
You're right.
So
you're right.
No one should be talking about Marte. Let's get that over with. Good hitters go on slumps of their own, and he's played, 4 games in the MLB, still hasn't completed 33% of an MLB season yet. So outside of that, looking at the Reds, your stars in Major League Baseball are supposed to be the guys who hold you through an inconsistent hitting streak as a team, where it's like a Mookie Betts or a Shohei Ohtani is going to go hit a big home run when the Dodgers just only had 4 hits in a game. One of those guys is going to go hit a huge multi-RBI knock, and you steal a win that way. The Reds, in my opinion, have such good everyday players that are good, that are rock solid, but not stars just yet. And Ellie is probably going to be a star, but I think Alex is right. Spencer Steer is a good guy to have on your team, but he can't be your best hitter every day. Jonathan India is a very good player for the locker room, but he's going to get hot and he's going to get cold. He can't be your best hitter on a team if you want to be a playoff team. You have to have guys like Candelario was on that run where he's going to hit, maybe 35 bombs this year. Like, you need guys like that are every day can always be dangerous and not just streaky as a team, because that's what's held them back from the win streak, lose streak, win streak, losing streak, and it's hard to watch.
Well, look, it's taken a lot of patience for the fans of this franchise for a long time, and it's going to take some more patience because they're facing a different set of circumstances now than they have in the past. We wondered about the second year. What would these players be like? How would they perform? Ellie certainly has his ups and downs, but, man, there's a lot to be excited about. That dude is an exciting, talented player. But Steer, clearly stepped back. So far, long way to go. Friedel can't ever get him on the field. Fraley, major step back, always hurt. Candelario had a great June. He stunk in April and May. So we'll see. He has a track record at least. But Encarnacion Strand, he was playing terrible before he got hurt. Maybe he played terrible because he was hurt. I don't know. And look, I got to say McLean. You know, it's like, Casey, you don't like using that term. You know where I'm going here. Injury prone.
Yeah.
Like Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
Burrow's been in the league for 4 years. 2 of the seasons he's had season-ending injuries. McLean came up last year, was this big star, was their big player. Here comes now the abdomen thing. He has to miss a month. He comes back. We start spring training. All of a sudden, here's the abdomen thing again. And then he injures his shoulder and he's out. But, I mean, you know where I'm going here. You know, are these guys injury prone, or is this just 1 year of bad luck?
Right. I mean, to be honest with you, Tom, it feels like, and I have not been following the Reds for very long, 2 years now at this point. It feels like this is just who they are, to be honest with you. That's what it feels like. Now, I could be very wrong.
Okay.
But some of these guys, they just can't catch a break. I mean, it feels like Lodolo. He's always going to get nicked up at some point. You already mentioned McLean. Friedel even gets injuries from time to time that take him out for like 2 weeks at a time. He gets on the 15-day IL. The list goes on and on.
Yeah.
All these guys, like we were at a point at this year where we did not have, I think, half our team start. Like we didn't have half our starters out there. It's like it can't be this bad multiple years in a row without there being something seriously wrong with either the training staff or the actual physical players themselves. Bad luck is 1 year. It's not multiple years in a row like it has been.
That's good. That's a very, very good point. All right, we've talked enough about the Reds now. One little footnote in baseball, getting back to the team they're chasing in the division. I don't know if you saw this thing over the weekend about Milwaukee. You know, Pat Murphy and I go way back. He's the manager of the Brewers. He was a head coach. Yeah, a lot of people remember him as a head coach for Craig Counsell, the former manager, when Counsell played at Notre Dame, and he was. But Murphy left there to go to Arizona State. That happened to be when I was out there working with the Diamondbacks and got to know him. I really like him a lot. A lot of people out in Arizona didn't like him. He is hard-nosed and he's tough, and there's no BS. N-U-N, none. But now he's getting a chance to be a big league manager, and what he's doing in Milwaukee is pretty amazing, but that's not the story here. Story is he's been asked all year long about his team, and they can't hit with the bases loaded. As of 9 days ago, they had 64 at-bats this year with the bases loaded. 64. They were hitting 150 with 1 grand slam. Now in the last 8 games, the Brewers have hit 5 grand slams. That's how you win games. You hit grand slams, good chance you're going to win games.
Yeah, I think a lot of breaks have gone the Brewers' way, but you do have to give them credit. They have guys who step up in big spots. And I know you talked about the bad numbers at the start of the year with the bases loaded, and that's what makes that stat so wild. The Brewers just win. Doesn't matter who they throw out there. When they need a big start, they get a big start. When they need a big 7th inning to come back and win, they get that. And that's what winning baseball teams do. And they're going to run away with this division, there's no question.
You really think that?
Yeah, I really do.
When they're pitching, they use 14 different guys this year.
Yeah, but who do you guys who continue to ask that question, who continue to say the
you were
Brewers
the guy saying the Cardinals were the team, not me.
I did not say the Cardinals were the team. I said the Cardinals are worlds better than the Reds, Cubs, and Pirates, and they're going to continue to separate themselves into second place.
After you watch this weekend, do you really believe the Cardinals are any better than the Reds? Have all of their players out. All these guys we just got finished talking about. The Cardinals have everybody they want in the lineup. And the Reds kicked their ass 2 of those. I mean, just boat raced them in 2 of the 4 games. Now, the other 2, the Reds got shut out. But do you think the Cardinals are really any better than the Reds?
I don't think right now with the argument of the Reds are going to get more pieces, then sure, you can say, hey, the Reds are still going to get better. I would personally rather be a Cardinals. Now, I'm not going to say fan because I know it's like a rival, but I'm saying I think the Cardinals are in a better spot than the Reds are right now. I think their young core is a lot more electrifying. They hit better. They have superstars on that team. I know Nolan Arenado's not having the greatest of years, but that's what I'm saying. Like, they have guys in the lineup that opposing pitchers have to look at and circle, and the Cardinals can go score 15 runs. It feels like a miracle when the Reds score 15 runs. And the Cardinals are a lot like the Reds in the batter's box, where it is the 10 runs and 0 runs. But for the most part, they have been consistently better. That's why they are in solo second. I think the division's going to go the Brewers run away, the Cardinals are at 2, and the Cubs, Pirates, and Reds, it doesn't really matter between those bottom 3, but one of them's going to finish last.
The Cubs are awful. I mean, they are just absolute. I mean, you know, you sit there and you look at a team and their payroll. I mean, their general manager, Jeb Hoyer, there has to be people in Chicago asking questions about what's going on. That's a $215 million payroll, the Cubs. And they are terrible. They're terrible. And look, I mean, I don't get some joy out of saying that, but right now they really look bad. All right, a couple of other items from over the weekend that I want to go back to. This Bronny James thing. I'm having a hard time understanding this. I mean, look, it doesn't take brain surgery to know his father is one of the greatest, if not the greatest player in the history of the NBA. At the same time, the Lakers are trying to run a franchise that since they won a world title a number of years ago, they have been basically awful. If not awful, average. Let's put it that way. But below average in terms of a regular season record. They've lost more than they win.
Below average for a LeBron James team as well.
Well, and for the last 10 years, now part of that was before James got there, and a lot of it is since he's gotten there. Sandwiched in the middle of all that is a world championship. The other years, the last decade, the best the Lakers 3 times have finished with the 6th best record in their conference. Most of the year they've been 9th, 11th, 12th, 14th, even 15th. And now you're going to pick a player. And Bronny James may turn into a star. I have no idea. But here's what I know. He had a heart condition, which was a very serious condition, which prevented him from ever really playing full games in his first year at USC last year. While playing at USC last year, limited minutes albeit, his numbers were nothing. I mean, nothing. No player with those numbers would ever be drafted in the second round by an NBA team. I mean, is this a money grab? Are they trying to make LeBron James happy so he can play with his kid?
Well, that's
or are you trying to make your team better and you believe that Bronny will turn into a good player?
No, it's the Los Angeles LeBrons is their new name. I mean, they're hiring a first-year head coach who has the experience of a 4th-grade rec league team, and now they're drafting LeBron's son with the 55th overall pick. I don't care. I don't think the 55th overall pick is necessarily going to make a night and day shift for a team that's trying to win an NBA title in one of LeBron's final years there. If it gets LeBron to stay a couple more years, then now you're talking if you're the Lakers, and that's why you obviously would have to do it. It's totally lame. It's nepotism at its finest, but everyone's going to use the point. Giannis's brother is on the Bucks. That's how stuff works. When you're that good, you get to dictate certain decisions like that. It's not fair. It's not right. Someone else should have been drafted in that spot that deserves it more, but it's the way it goes. And in my opinion, Bronny has an unbelievable build. He's a James genetic. He has a high basketball IQ. He's dealt with some stuff with his health. I don't think that he has no chance to be an NBA basketball player, but at this point in time right now, he is in no means, shape, or form an NBA basketball player.
So how are you? So you're saying?
I'm saying drafting him isn't It's obviously for LeBron to keep him in LA and to make him happy.
But if you're a Lakers season ticket holder, and Lord knows how much money you're shelling out for that every year in LA. If you're an LA season ticket holder, I mean, are you paying money so your player can play with his kid? Or are you paying money to go see the team every night that's legitimately trying to get better by drafting better players than Bronny James? And again, I don't know. Maybe Bronny James turns into a mega superstar. God bless him. I hope he does. He seems like a great kid.
Yeah, but there's nothing that would make you believe that right now.
Nothing that makes me believe that.
So,
not even in high school, because you and I talked about this last night. None of the big boys were after Bronny James.
He wasn't
coming out of
first.
high
He wasn't
school.
even first team all conference in high school.
I mean,
he still had the Kentucky offers of the world, but that's
but he didn't have Duke. He didn't have Carolina. He didn't have Kansas. He didn't have UConn, right? He didn't have these guys. He had the Ohio States. Yes, one Kentucky, but he had the Ohio States and the Oregons and the USCs of the world, which are good programs, but they ain't Carolina, Duke, UConn, and Kansas.
No, they're not. And Bronny has never been that type of guy, and that's not what his career trajectory is on. He's supposed to be a 3-and-D type of role player, and he had the build for it in college. He was talented as it gets, but I think the heart condition slowed him down, but he's no superstar. He's no NBA draft pick at 19 years old. He's just LeBron James' son right now, and for the sake of him, I think that's difficult. Austin Rivers says he didn't wish anything besides Bronny not going to the Lakers because it was bad for Austin Rivers playing under his son, Doc Rivers. He said he hated it, and we'll see how this situation works out. He's definitely going to be a G League player at some point. I think he's going to go down in their organization, have to work his way up. If he does, great. If not, LeBron's still happy and still a Laker.
Fair enough. You were going to say?
I have a kind of unique perspective on
Okay.
this. I don't mind it as much because I know what it's for. It's for LeBron, for him to stay here in LA, or
Sure.
stay there in LA, not here. I looked up the best players that were picked at 55th in the NBA draft history.
Okay.
Guard Patty Mills. I've never heard of him before. 2009.
Veteran, great career.
15
Great career?
Year, 15
Great career.
season career,
Okay.
7,893 points.
Okay.
Some other notable guys, Mark Blount, Kenny Gaddison, and I can't even pronounce the other guy's name, so I'm not going to. But there's never been an NBA All-Star pick 55. There's never been a All-Rookie or an All-Defensive Team player at that pick. If you combine all the points scored at the number 55 pick in NBA history, it adds up to 28,364 points, which is 12,000 less points than LeBron's entire career. So the pick itself is not very valuable already.
Fair enough.
So if you can find any value by making your star player happy by giving him that little energy that your son's in the building,
Okay.
regardless of what he turns out to be, he probably wasn't going to end up being that player is probably not going to end up being some sort of, now there's a 1 in a million chance that he turns out to be some all-star.
Yeah,
right?
you never
But
know.
You never know. But
He's young.
you're going up against the odds. The odds are probably not in your favor there.
The issue I have is that Bronny isn't an NBA talent, though. So there's all these, hypotheticals and edits and AI creations made of Bronny throwing his father an alley-oop. To my dad's point, what you were saying, for a season ticket holder, paying to sign and pay Bronny James as an NBA draft pick, I didn't think there was any guarantees with this that Bronny was a Los Angeles Laker come the regular season.
Well, I don't think there ever is with a guy who's a second-round pick.
So
a first-round pick is good, but you just said, Casey, the 55th pick, you're definitely not guaranteed a spot.
That's what I'm saying. So if this is all for LeBron's morale and whatnot, then wouldn't Bronny be on the sidelines if the Lakers were going that route? And then that route is complete self-sabotage on LeBron's own son if LeBron is helping the narrative that he was only drafted to be LeBron's, extra spark of energy or to make him stay in LA or to make him a little happier. I think the whole situation's messed up because if you start getting charity ball with Bronny James playing in the NBA, that is when there is an issue for the whole league to look at in general.
All right, but I got to tell you, I think Casey has changed my mind on this based on that track record. I thought it was ridiculous at first. And now, when I look at the history of that pick in the league, I assumed the second-round picks were going to be legitimate guys to play in a league for a long time. You just clearly proved the track record of 55th picks. So if nothing else, they are making LeBron, as you said, happy.
Yeah.
And, it's a nice thing to have. I mean, it was a big deal when Ken Griffey Sr. played with Ken Griffey Jr. with the Seattle Mariners years ago. It was a big deal.
And I could make an argument, too, that he might not be a NBA offensive player right now, but he certainly is tenacious enough to play defense in the NBA. and that's me really stretching it. Yeah. I know that, but there's that opportunity too that he develops more with his dad. I don't know what sort of coaching he was getting at USC. I'm not super deep into the college basketball landscape.
Well, but he was, again, he had the heart thing. I mean, he had to wait a long time to start practicing. Very serious heart condition that required surgery. So by the time he got back, he was only allowed to play a certain number of practices for a week when he first came back. Then he was only allowed to play a certain number of minutes per game when he came back. I'm not sure the kid was ever in quote-unquote basketball physical shape to go truly compete at SC last year.
Yeah, and you could say a minutes restriction. He wasn't good enough to start and play serious minutes in general. But if you take a whole year off of anything, you're not just going to magically come back and be great. Right. I mean, we've seen it with Tiger Woods in golf. He's still trying to come back right now outside of what happened at Augusta a few years ago. But the last point I want to make on this is that it's really sad for Bronny that this is happening to him. And in large part, if not the biggest picture, it's his dad's fault that this is happening to him. Because LeBron, deep down, I give him the credit. I think that he has belief in his son to be an NBA talent. But I had to take over a year ago, Bronny should have been the number 1 overall pick in the draft if that whole thing with LeBron following him and was going to Bronny's destination was true. You're going to have the largest NBA jersey sales ever in a single season. You have LeBron on in your team, and I'm telling you, the young kids will buy Bronny's jersey until it is sold out in every single market that could possibly make a jersey. 2, you get LeBron on the team. 3, season tickets will be sold out immediately because you have LeBron and his son on the team. So he's used as the scapegoat for money, revenue, and LeBron's success. That stinks for him, and he's going to have a weird career to navigate all those hula hoops.
All right. I hear you. It's going to be fun to watch, though. It does give you something to care about. A lot of people care about the Lakers. In general, it doesn't matter who is there, but it does give you something to think about. All right, walk me through one more time, Casey. What's going to happen here in a minute and a half, starting now officially the all new and improved off the bench? Because Lord knows it's new and improved since I left.
Well, since this is all just one stream, everyone can just sit tight. We're not going to transfer you anywhere. Just hold on a second. It's 9:58, so I'm going to put up our waiting screen for just a second, and we'll get right into Off the Bench with Kenner as the new host. So,
do you call him Kenner or do you call him by his first name?
Well, I go back and forth with Justin Kenner. I don't know. I haven't.
I mean, is he like the level of Prince now, where you just say Kenner?
I don't know.
LeBron.
I have to ask him what he prefers. Does he prefer to be called Justin or Kenner? There's some guys I call by their last name, and some guys I call by their first name. I haven't decided yet what I'm going to call Justin yet. I don't know.
Okay. What are your thoughts on that? You want to be known as Brenneman or Luke?
Brenny's
pretty good.
I like Luke, but I think Kenner's,
what about Brenny?
Kenner's show is called
Brenny
Kenner
on your.
and
You
Cash,
use Brenny on all your social media stuff.
Yeah, that's just a nickname that's gonna have to get retired once I turn 20, probably. It's a little childish, I would say.
What? What about Bronny? Bronny and Brenny, it's like the same thing.
Exactly right. What's wrong with Brenny? Brenny Lux.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Bronny, though, he was named his father's name. So he can't go by LeBron. Like, he has to go by something else. I think there's a point in time in my life where I see myself being forced to go by my first name, which I'm fine with. But no, I mean, it's a nickname debate. I think Kinner and Kev is a great name for their show.
Yep.
Back to the original point that this came up. If that's what the show is called and Kinner is our new number one talent on off the bench, or at least facilitating it, then I think it should stay as Kinner because that's what people know him as, not Justin.
Okay. All right. Well, it's time for that show to begin right now. Again, Luke and I will be back with you this Friday at 9:15 YouTube/Chatterbox Sports and on the Believe Network. But the boys are ready to roll. Casey, are you ready to roll?
I'm ready to roll.
Lukey, have a great rest of your day. Luke, Brenny, Luke, which is it?
End the stream.
All right, end the stream. See ya.
The Browns, they're putrid. They're the worst team in the NFL.
The season, the 2024 season is over.
Lamar Jackson can't win the playoffs. He'll win a third MVP, though, so that's great. Drew Sample is the most important piece of the Bengals offense next year.
Go Joe Burrow. He deserves to be MVP. I wish he was the Browns quarterback. Kind of mean that.
If you're looking for the most reactionary, silly, and unserious show on the internet, then you're home. Live from Hamilton, Ohio, it's Off the Bench by Chatterbox Sports on 1410 ESPN Radio.
We're not late. You're late. Welcome in. Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. I'm Justin Kinner, off and rolling. Happy July, everybody. It's a show that's been around for a few years, a slightly new look, a slightly new sound, of course, but the same old cast of characters. Excited to be with you, excited to be on the show moving forward, and excited to get to hang out with the guys every Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to noon here on Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, and then, of course, the re-airing of this on 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. My voice, I think people in Dayton might be pretty sick of when it's all said and done. I think, from 1 to 6 every single day, but nonetheless. Good morning, everybody. Welcome in Off the Bench. Justin Kinner with you here, and, of course, let's welcome in the round table, of course. Mr. Jimmy, welcome. Good morning. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Say it louder. Say it more energy.
I'm great. How are you?
Great. There we go. I like it. Producer extraordinaire, Mr. Casey McAllister. Good morning to yourself as well.
Good morning, Kenner. Good morning. Do you want
better.
Justin?
A little better.
A little better?
A little louder.
Good morning, Kenner.
There we go. I
Good
like
morning.
it. We need to bring the energy here this morning. And then not the producer, the Mr. Everything over here. We got
That's
Mr.
what they call me,
Elliott
Mr.
Reary.
Everything.
Mr. Everything.
Mr. Everything. Good morning, Kenner. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic. I am doing fantastic.
You look great.
So this is a wild thing here as we get things rolling here today on the show, because the next guy sitting next to you, Mr. Jacob Tissett, you look a little familiar. I think I used to host a show with you.
From Grip It and Rip It fame.
Grip It and Rip It. So many. I think people knew something was up whenever we just pulled Grip It and Rip It randomly last week. R.I.P. Grip It and Rip It. I just kept ignoring it. But Elliot said that I'm responsible for the worst take in the history of Chatterbox Sports.
Yeah.
I have also set history because I also think I'm responsible for the shortest running show in the history of Chatterbox Sports as well. Am I not mistaken?
That could be true.
I think both are true. I think both are actually true on that. And that's okay. Listen.
And then JJ Redick and LeBron stole our thunder, canceling their podcast in the same day.
That's right.
I mean, what is this?
So, look, not a whole lot's changing moving forward. A lot of the same talking points, and any bad take that I bring to the show, you guys can correct me in the chat. And then, of course, we have a room full of people that will definitely correct me, especially with football season on the horizon. But I wanted to open up today's show. And again, last Friday, I know on the Kinner and Kev show in Dayton, I spent a little bit of time on this particular topic. And I wanted to open up the show with this here today, on Chatterbox, on YouTube, of course, and Off the Bench. So we're off and rolling. So here we go. So the Cleveland Guardians right now sitting atop Major League Baseball, second best record in baseball. And the wild thing about that is I'm happy for the Guardians. I don't really hate the Guardians. I don't hate Guardians fans. Good for this. It's a cool, fun story, especially considering the expectations, or I guess lack thereof, that they had coming in to the season. This is a team that, of course, has Ramirez. He's kind of their face. He's who they are. They chose to build around. They moved on from Francisco Lindor. Obviously, they've had some fantastic pitchers over the years and still do. And, of course, they start the season losing Bieber for the year. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why this team should not be sitting where they are at. But they are where they are at, and they're one of the funner stories in baseball. So why would I sit here and say that, well, the Guardians' success is actually not good for baseball? Why would I actually say that the Guardians' success is not good for the Cincinnati Reds? You take a look at what the Cleveland Guardians have done from a record standpoint. I mean, since 2020, 334 wins, 292 losses. They've had 2 playoff appearances in that span. That's fantastic. As Cincinnati Reds fans, we would love to get to the playoffs a few times since 2020. We would love to have 334 wins. We would love to be rolling, all right, the way that the Cleveland Guardians franchise is. If we could pop that graphic up one more time, take a look at what's the most interesting, though, about that success in that frame is look at the payroll numbers. The fact that they're having all of this success while continuously being in the bottom 5 of payroll. You look back in 2020, 35-25 on the year in that COVID-shortened season, 24th in payroll. 80-82, a couple games under 500, and 29th in payroll. 27th in payroll when they won 92 games back in 2022. Last year, 76 and 86, 26th in payroll. And then, of course, this year, 26th in payroll, 52-29. They didn't do a damn thing in the offseason. All right, they had no expectations coming into the season. You lose Bieber to start the season, but yet here they are, 52 wins on the season, sitting with the top 2 record in baseball. How in the heck are they doing this? Now, you can sit there and say, well, they're overcoming all the odds, and, they're a great organization because they're developing guys in their farm system, and that is true. They have a very healthy farm system. They do a good job developing guys. They took care of Ramirez. They had Francona for many, many years. Like, they check off a lot of boxes of what you would like to see a successful franchise look like at the Major League Baseball level. No doubt about it. But the problem is the example that they are setting is not good for baseball across the board, because we spend so much time talking about all of these, not having a salary cap, right? And how that's a big-time deficiency for some organizations. Some teams are able to do more with less, while others do less with more. That's what makes baseball so interesting. But I'm here to tell you that as a Reds fan, I don't find what the Guardians are doing is cute. I don't find it cute at all, because we are battling an ownership group in Cincinnati that is looking for any reason that they can not to spend money. So if the Cincinnati Reds sat back and they looked around Major League Baseball and they felt that, okay, we have a great young core. We have Matt McClain, we have Spencer Steer, we have Christian Encarnacion Strand, we have Ellie De La Cruz, we have Noelve, the Juice Marte. We have all great, exactly, right? We have all of these great young pieces. Now we need to go spend money to put talent around them to succeed. That's what I would like them to feel if they looked around baseball and they felt that the only way to win in baseball is to spend money. Well, that's not necessarily the case. And I think the worst thing about what the Guardians are doing is sometimes their winning is bailing out their organization. The fact that their organization refuses to invest money into the franchise, to me, is a problem. That's not a great thing. I keep seeing that their social media accounts, they're putting out these graphics of bottom 5 in spending, and look where we're at, number 2 in baseball right now. That's not the flex that you think that it is, and I don't think it's very cute, especially, like I said earlier, being a Reds fan, battling an ownership group that is looking for every excuse not to spend money. What's stopping the Castellinis from saying, look, you guys want us to go spend money in our outfield. You want us to add more veteran leadership in our rotation and getting some stronger guys in the bullpen and getting more pop in our lineup. Well, we could do that. We could spend money, but why? Look at the Cleveland Guardians. We don't need to spend money. We just need to develop better. That's the problem I have. I'm not anti-Cleveland Guardians. I'm not mad at the fans. Good for the fans for being able to enjoy a fun season, especially coming in feeling like you didn't have much to feel excited about. Reds fans, we thought that this team would be competing for the division. We thought that this team would be a shoo-in to the playoffs. At least some of us did. I know I did. I drank the Kool-Aid, okay? But the bottom line is that's not the case. I know injuries have impacted them this season, but last year the Reds missed the playoffs by 2 games. And you could sit back and say, well, that was a great competitive year. They were supposed to lose 100 games. They missed the playoffs by 2 games. Didn't really do a whole lot as far as trying to make this roster better in the offseason. And I know injuries have hurt them this year, but what I don't want to see is the Cincinnati Reds sitting back, pointing at the Guardians, saying, see, you don't need to spend money to be successful in Major League Baseball. You just need to continue to rely on your young core talent. Be that as it may, you do need to rely on that. You can't just sit back and continuously be in the bottom 5 in spending like the Guardians are and be content with that. Last point before I get to the rest of the guys here is the Cleveland Guardians is a great story. Let's say you get to that 95, 100 win mark on the season, but yet you lack just a little bit of firepower heading into the postseason. You get knocked out in the first round or the second round, and it's because, man, if only we had just a little more. If we had one more big bat in the lineup, one more big piece in the bullpen, one more big piece in our rotation, maybe we could have actually won the World Series instead of just having this be the season that we remember for overcoming lack of spending. I don't think those stories are cute in Major League Baseball. I think that hurts teams like the Reds when there is an actual blueprint example of teams who show success without spending money. I'm not a big fan of that at all. We'll start with Mr. Elliott.
Yeah, there are exceptions to the rule. There are exceptions for small market teams to be successful in Major League Baseball without spending that much money. But I'll say this, 26 of the 29 teams to win a World Series, that they've been the top half of Major League payroll. 20 of the 29 have been in the top 10 of Major League payroll. And then you only have the 3 world champions, the Astros, Royals, and Marlins, the 2017 Astros. They won it a different way. So I will say this. We can sit here and we can praise the Guardians, and that'll be great. Are you going to bet anything that they can win a World Series this year? And the answer, of course, is no. We can say that the Rays and the Guardians, they're doing things the right way. But at the end of the day, if you're not winning a World Series, what have you really accomplished? And we can sit here and say winning the pennant, winning the NL pennant, or the AL pennant, that means a lot. And it does. But we're all searching for the same thing here. We're going for a World Series. And to do that, you have to spend. 3 teams in the last 30 seasons have gone against the grain and not spent and still managed to win. And I'd argue there's only 2 legitimate ones because the other one used trash cans. So that's what we have to deal with here. And this isn't like something like the Reds fandom, right? They'll look at the Guardians and the Rays and they'll say, why can't we do that? And it's because we have incompetent owners. And I hate to say that, but that's the truth. The Reds front office has been not great for a long time now. And if you don't believe me, you just take a look at the win-loss record over the past 25 seasons. You take a look at the fact that the Reds have not advanced in the postseason since the year 2000, the only MLB franchise to do that. So I wouldn't look at the Guardians and the Rays if I'm the Reds and say, like, let's be like them. Let's just try to be competitive and maybe maybe we'll see what happens. That's not what I want to be. I want to be somebody that spends money, and the Reds did that this offseason. The Reds spent money. So I'll give the front office a little bit of credit here. They actually went out and spent money. Now, with all the injuries and everything that's happened this year, it's been lost in translation, but they tried. They've tried the past couple of seasons. And when I say a couple, I guess 1.5 seasons. So we'll see where we go, but I don't think the method should try to be like the Guardians, like the Rays, and hope Stephen Kwan hits 500 during the course of the regular season. The hope that Josh Naylor hits a career high of home runs at the midway point. I don't think that should be the method for major league teams.
I mean, you see the Rays and the Guardians compete seemingly year in and year out. I understand that they don't win the championship. Neither of them have a championship, but they've both been there. The Rays have been there a little bit more consistently, and like Kirby just put in the chat, the Guardians were a rain delay away from winning a World Series. Is there a banner for that? Well, no, but the Reds have never been there. So obviously this method works to a degree.
I mean, we've never been there, true. Nobody's saying the Guardians aren't better than the Reds over the past several seasons. I'm just saying, at the end of the day, what does it really matter? To quote Billy Beane, if you don't win the last game of the season, nobody really cares.
I guess that when the Reds haven't advanced since '95, I'm looking for a little bit more than a World Series.
Sure.
A little bit less than a World Series.
Sure.
Yeah.
You can temper expectations as you may.
So I've compared the Guardians to this. So, again, they're doing great things, right? Like, they have this young talent. They're doing a great job. The Cincinnati Reds doing the same thing. But what you don't want to be is that super smart kid that has all the potential in the world but just doesn't try, right? Like, you ever go to school with that kid that you always hear them say, man, he's super smart, super intelligent. If he just applied himself, if he just studied, maybe those C's and B minuses he's getting could be A's. He could be a straight A student. Well, that's the Guardians. They have all the potential in the world. They are super intelligent, but they just don't study for exams. They don't do their homework. And you look back and say, well, they finished with a passing grade, all right? Maybe enough to get a scholarship here and there, right? Like they're doing just enough. But man, if they just applied themselves, if they just spent that extra time studying, maybe they might ace these exams. That's the Guardians. I don't want to hear all the boo-hooing about, how they fell just short because they were missing this or missing that. When you're bottom 5 in spending and have all of these great pieces that have put you in position to be competitive, and I don't really care. To me, it's an embarrassment if you fall short. For instance, moving forward, if the Cincinnati Reds, which I wasn't super hard on them for not adding a lot in the last offseason, I'm going to be a little more critical if they don't do it this upcoming offseason because I think they needed this season to truly have a feel for who they are, right? So, and this might be a little difficult because a lot of these guys are injured. Friedel's been in and out of the lineup all season. No Matt McClain for the year. I'll be surprised. In fact, I'll put money. I don't think Matt McClain, we won't see him with the
Dodgers. I got a large amount of money.
The Reds did spend a lot this offseason. They put a lot of money into this roster to improve it and get better for this season. And it's the injuries that have made those pieces that they signed not be able to play the position they were intended to play. I'm very happy with how the Reds approached this offseason when you were 2 games away from making the playoffs last year. They competed and they tried more than this ownership group really ever has. The summer of Castellanos and Moustakas obviously feels like the biggest all-in, if you will, moment for this Reds Reds team in recent history. But this last offseason with Jeimer Candelario, Frankie Montas, Emilio Pagan, they went out and tried to fill the holes of this roster. It just hasn't come to fruition because of the injuries.
You don't need that many big bats if this roster works the way Nick Krall designed it to work. The issue is, if we're going to lose TJ Friedel and Matt McClain, and Noelvi Marte is going to do juice, and we're going to lose Jeimer Candelario is dealing with tendinitis. Jake Fraley's dealing with leg contusions. And you keep dealing with all these injuries, and it's just a circle of injuries, then it's not going to work the way it's supposed to work, and then you have to go out and go in free agency and get a big bat. And that's what I hope they do this offseason, because it's evident to me, after watching this team for the past several seasons, they're not a healthy group. They're not at some point you are who you are, and the Reds are not healthy, and they're consistently not healthy.
Yeah, I think the whole topic around the Guardians is very similar for all the teams in both the AL and the NL Central, and they don't spend a lot of money every single year, and I don't think that's going to change. But I do think that this is like kind of a false hope for these teams when people are saying that, like, oh, see, if the Guardians can do it year in and year out, because, yeah, the Guardians are usually, or they have been pretty good for the last 15 or so years, like year in and year out. But the teams from the Centrals that have had success, you had the Royals back in 2015 when they won the World Series. They spent a good bit of money. The Tigers back in the early 2010s when they were making runs at the World Series just because they had an owner that spent money. The Twins, when they were good, they had an owner that spent money. The Cubs won the World Series because they signed guys and spent money. So at the end of the day, it is all about spending money. And with this Guardians team too, is they can pump up, oh, look at us, we're not spending a lot of money, but we're winning. We're 25 games above 500. Well, I don't think they're going to do very well in the playoffs because their pitching rotation isn't great. They have 3 guys with an ERA above 5, one of which they just DFA'd, and they don't have Bieber. I don't know Bieber's exact timeline of when he's coming back, but I do think this Guardians team is a lot of false hope for the lower payroll teams because they could be an early exit.
It's one thing, too, to have like a year where you're low in spending, but they're consistently at the bottom, and that's the problem as far as that's concerned. But off the bench here, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton, Ohio. Of course, off the bench presented by United Dairy Farmers. Excited to be hanging out with you guys here this morning. We're off and rolling again. Cleveland Guardians, good for them, right? There's no jealousy on my. You know how I hate all those Cleveland teams, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
You know,
that's what you're known for.
Ooh, Cleveland.
Chad's shocked that your first show's opening with Cleveland talk. I mean, the Chad is shocked.
First of all, it's very Red-centric. Okay, it's very Red-centric. In fact, I don't think my co-host in Dayton, Kev Nash, he's a big Guardians fan. I don't think he was pissed at me last week because we never talk Guardians, all this winning, and the first Guardians talk is, hey, your team sucks for doing this to the rest of us, right, as far as that's concerned. But we have Elliot's headlines coming up here around the corner. Also, real quick, we're going to step away for a few moments. When we come back, I don't know, Casey, did you see the Ballmer soundbite I send you?
I did.
You did.
I have it ready.
We have it queued up and ready. Oh, look at this. See, I'm
learning
the new bells and whistles with the show. This is exciting. So I'll tie in slightly here to this conversation about kind of how we view ownership, right? About how we view ownership and how we judge what our ownership does and our general managers, front office personnel does for our teams. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. NBA free agency, the Los Angeles Clippers, they lose Paul George, right? They lose Paul George, and everyone is slamming the Clippers because it didn't work. They didn't get a championship out of it, and now they're making fun of Ballmer, the owner of the Clippers, because of the introductory press conference whenever they were able to land Paul George with Kawhi Leonard. This was his excitement. Take a look. This was his excitement. Take a look. Damn it, these bells and whistles.
Hang on.
Oh, we're hanging on. We're good.
I thought I had it.
You thought you had it.
I thought I had it. That's my bad.
Man, this is like watching. It's like Will Benson for a little bit.
See what you should have done. You should have done a pros pro move, and you should have went to break just then.
Oh,
you should have done the 5 set. You should have teased it up.
See, that's that.
Give Casey
that's
the wiggle
that
room.
700 WLW experience of yours coming into play. You are right, Elliot. In fact, what we're going to do is we'll be right back. It's again off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers here at Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio. Don't go anywhere. All right, and we are back off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. I'm Justin Kinner. The round table of guys, of course, we got Jimmy, we got Casey, we got Elliot, we got Jacob, and we are off and rolling, of course, live on Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, and then, of course, on 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. I'm waiting for the signal, the bat signal. Oh, we got the bat signal. We are good to go. Good to go. So we opened up the show today talking about the Cleveland Guardians, their success being bad for the Cincinnati Reds because of the fact that the Castellini is always looking for an excuse not to spend money, right? They could easily look at the Guardians, who have been in the bottom 5 in spending for 5 straight seasons, yet they've won over 320-plus games. They've had multiple playoff appearances, about to make their 3rd since 2020 this season, unless they have an epic collapse in the back half. They continue to have success despite the lack of spending, and although some view that as a great storyline, I view that as a horrific thing because I don't think it's good for baseball, setting that example that you don't need to spend money. It's bad for the players, too. The Players Association has spoken out about that as well, but it also gives the Castellinis an out because they can look at the Guardians and say, you guys want us to spend money to put around Hunter Greene and Nick Lodolo and obviously Ellie De La Cruz and Matt McClain and Spencer Steer and Christian Encarnacion Strand and these guys and Friedel? We don't need to do that. We just need to develop better. Look at the Guardians, right? I'm not a fan of that. But owners constantly get ripped no matter what they do. Even the owners who spend money. I found this very, very interesting. Steve Ballmer, the owner of the Los Angeles Clippers, getting ripped and made fun of today because they lost Paul George, who they were aggressive with a few years ago, to go out and land. Take a look at the clip that everyone's making fun of the owner of the Clippers for.
Love you, Darren. I have these notes, but I gotta say I'm just fired up to be here today. It's pretty cool, pretty damn cool. Woo!
See, look at that. That's the excitement I want out of my ownership group. That's what I want to see. Teams adding great players and the owners. Can you see Castellini up there? Can you guys imagine Castellini up there adding a big-time free agent, clapping? Imagine the Joey Votto run if you cared about winning, right? Am I right? Joey Votto up on the stage, and they're acquiring big-name talent. You have Castellini's clapping their hands, super jacked and excited. I want that. The fact that they're making fun of Ballmer today is insane. I would kill for an owner that would swing and miss versus, well, you know what, we're just going to, striking out left and right, not even attempting to step up into the plate. That's the Reds ownership group, and people are making fun of Ballmer because he went out to get Paul George to put with Kawhi Leonard to try to win an NBA championship. I'm Team Ballmer all the way. Not every move is always going to lead to a championship, but I want to be a fan of an organization that is at least showing me that we give a damn, that we're actually trying. But we got Jacob here. I could tell just by his energy before the show even started, he hates Ballmer. He hates winning. Are you a Joey Votto fan, by the way?
I'm a huge Joey Votto fan, but that's one of the worst. The trade for Paul George is one of, if not the worst trades of all time.
Based on
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander alone being one of the best players in the league, definitely better than Paul George right now. And Paul George is gone. They would still have team control over Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, much less they gave away 4 first-round picks, 2 pick swaps, and a lottery-protected first. So you traded a guy who's currently a better player, was then most people forecasted to be an MVP-level player in SGA, for Paul George, who was aging. Obviously, if you win a championship, it doesn't matter. That's how trades are graded. But without getting there to even one, I mean, this is one of the worst trades we've ever seen.
It was a bit. I saw the trade this morning, and it's like a whole paragraph long. Yeah. It was. Yeah. I mean, listen. That's a bad trade. But here's the thing. I agree with you. I'm not going to ever fault an owner for going out attempting to win in spending money. I noticed the Nick Castellanos versus Will Benson. That debate's died down a little bit. As you've seen, I'm not going to say Nick Castellanos has been a great player for the Phillies, but my God. He went out and they tried to spend money on a guy that was at least showed that he could play high-level Major League Baseball. And the Reds now have Will Benson, who's hitting 175. So, yeah, I commend owners who go out and spend money, opposed to just sitting on their hands and trying to outsmart everybody else.
So think of the timing of that trade, though, to go back to that. Again, this isn't like a Clippers topic per se. I want you guys to think of this in terms of the attempt by your ownership group. Because the Reds could trade for, throw out a big name, you guys, of a name that the Reds can go after this
Luis
offseason.
Robert, probably the biggest name.
So they go after him, right? They give up some prospects to get him, and the Reds don't make the playoffs, and it doesn't work out, right? Like, would we say that that's a bad trade? Because right now, the way I look at it as we sit here in July of 24, if they do make that move in the offseason or at the trade deadline or whatever, I'm going to feel like $1 million. Like, my team is trying. They are going out to try to add talent to this roster. I don't think that just because the end result doesn't get you what you want, that it's necessarily a bad trade. I just think that only one team hoists up the dang trophy.
That's fair.
Or that little thing of metal or whatever he referred to it as. At the end of the day, only one team hoists it up. I would rather my team be aggressive and go after guys attempting to go after it all and risking failing versus, well, we got to hold on to our prospects because we got to keep talking about prospects, because if I can get all you goofy Reds fans to buy into the prospect scenario, we keep buying into the future. Well, keep in mind, it's 2024. What prospects from 4 or 5 years ago were they saying they can't move on from because the future, but it seems that every damn year we keep talking about the future. When is the future? Now? I want the Reds to do something big, maybe not today, July 1st, 2024, but I will not fault them at all if they go big and it doesn't work out. I know people were pissed about the why am I drawing a blank? Not the Cueto. Well, yeah, the Cueto debate, whether they should pay him.
Yeah.
Or why am I drawing a blank?
Luis Castillo, are you talking about?
Not Luis Castillo. Homer Bailey.
Homer Bailey.
At that time, I didn't have a problem with it. Looking back at it, huge problem with it. But when the Reds are aggressive, we crap on them. They pay Joey Votto, we crap on him. They don't pay anyone else after, you crap on them. Bottom line is, I love the Joey Votto signing at the time, because did you know that the Reds, I think you guys know this, they were this close to getting Albert Pujols? They were this close to getting Albert Pujols. In fact, he ended up signing, I think, for $15 million more per year going to the Angels. But they were trying to go after Pujols. I don't know. I would have loved to see what Reds country would have done if they would have moved on from Votto to go after Pujols. I would have loved it probably, right? No.
You would have.
I would have. And Pujols loves winning. So, No.
Yeah, you didn't see Pujols.
Did a lot of winning in L.A.
Yeah, a lot of winning in L.A. Reed, shout out to Reed, by the way, our good friend Reed. He says it all the time, winning cures all. When you don't win ever, and I literally mean ever, when you are a storied loser, like the Cincinnati Reds have been for quite some time now, you have to micro look at every single signing, mis-signing, guy who you didn't trade for, guy who you didn't extend. You have to look at all of these at a micro level and say, why not, why not, why not? Because you look around and you see no wins. The plan that they've used over the past, not the past 2 years, but the years prior, clearly was a failed experiment. Everything they did lost. They had 3 winning seasons. What? 4? I think they've won 6 times since the year 2000. Maybe 7 if you count COVID. So that's what the Reds have been. And until the Reds win games, I'm going to continue to say, why did you still pay Homer Bailey all that money and it not work out? And I'm going to still I'm going to say all these other things. Why do we not have Luis Castillo here? Even though that trade definitely did work out. Maybe. Hopefully it worked out. Yeah, and you go along the lines, and that's what you have to do. You have to pick apart every single little move because you don't win anything. And that's where the Reds are at, unfortunately.
All right, Justin Kinner, Jacob Tissett, Jimmy, and Elliot with you here, and Mr. Casey McCollister. Oh, yeah, Casey, are we supposed to get you involved? Are you a talker? Do you talk?
I'll talk from time to time.
He's talking. We got a talker, folks.
He only talks when Ellie De La Cruz is a bad game.
That's true.
And then he
steps one of them?
He wants him in Chattanooga.
He wants him in Chattanooga.
I mean, let me defend
skipping
myself
Louisville.
here. It's partially
Take the
a bit.
headphones off. It's about to get real.
It's partially a bit. Partially not. I mean, I kind of want my guys to just be who I think they can be, right? I think Ellie De La Cruz can be the star that wins you games when you're down by a run or when you need a tie a ball game or something, when you've got bases loaded. Can he provide that winning at bat for you? It's not just him, though. It's the whole Reds team. They just continually struggle to get it done when it matters. They are not ready to be nut cutters at the current moment. But I know that's a little off topic from what we were just talking about, but that's my thoughts currently on the Reds.
Well, anytime you can drop a nut cutter in there,
that's right.
It's always a win in my book.
He wants Ellie sent down. Ellie's batting .334 or .667 his last 15.
Yeah. Tough.
Get him out.
Get him out. Get him out.
He's only providing value when it doesn't matter.
Right.
When it doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah, and the 11-1 win, 3 hits, doesn't matter.
Well,
Joey Votto was a Hall of Famer when it didn't matter.
You guys probably think Angel Reese is a good WNBA player, too.
Oh, I'm Team Clark.
All right. Good start.
Clark.
All right, what you got? Are you Team Clark or Team Reese?
I'm Team Clark.
What about you?
100%.
Team Clark, of course.
There's a lot of people saying not surprised right now.
Did you guys see that? Did you guys see that tweet I sent in our group chat about Clark and her turnovers?
No.
Half of them are just drop passes from her.
Not
team.
surprising.
I did see that.
Not surprising.
I did see
Not
that.
surprising at all.
You want to do headlines?
Let's do headlines. In fact, we'll do headlines when
we come back.
He got it.
That was really good.
He got it. I set it up. So we'll do headlines when?
We come back.
When we come back, Elliot's headlines coming up off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers right here at Chatterbox Sports on YouTube and 1410 ESPN Radio. And we are back off the bench. I already see one that says hilarious. This group talks about the WNBA. So hilarious. So hilarious.
Trace said not surprising.
So hilarious. All right, welcome back again, and we're going to try another new bells and whistle opportunity here, right? Right, Casey? Are we going to try something new?
I love bells and whistles.
Bells and whistles.
I'm more of a bells guy.
So we're running out of breaks, though. So if we throw it to the bells and the whistles part, and it's just crickets, I can't go to break again.
We just have to sit here and witness the silence.
That'd be one long touch and go. If
a very long touch and go.
As far as that's concerned. So let's have a little fun. We got Elliot's headlines.
Look at that.
Elliot loves three things: Joey Votto, David Bell, and leading off the bench with top headlines.
Wow.
That's big league.
How about that? That was a surprise to me. I didn't know that was happening.
I was surprised. Yeah, like LeBron was surprised that I told you in the email. I'm surprised. It's like LeBron's surprised that Bronny was drafted by the Lakers.
He was
surprised.
shocked.
So surprised.
And he never talked to J.J. Redick about being the head coach. He was
Yeah.
shocked by that, too.
I was like that. I did say, I was like, I'm hijacking his headlines segment. I'm such a jerk. We'll get back to that. Elliot's headlines, ladies and gentlemen.
The Reds, if you missed it, the Reds split the series in St. Louis after getting shut out 2-0 in yesterday's game. Here's a fun little nugget. The Reds scored 20 runs and were shut out twice in the same series. The Reds have now won 4 of their last 19 series. They've won the opener in 13 of those 19 series.
Look out, Yankees.
Tough.
Yeah.
Tough. The Reds finished the month 14-13 after starting 7-1. Yesterday's game, the offense mustered up a whopping 2 hits, a double by Jonathan India, and a base hit by everybody's favorite Stuart Fairchild. Jonathan India has doubled now in 8 straight games with multiple doubles in 3 of those 8. He went 7 for 16 in this weekend series. Hunter Greene struggled with his command, throwing too many pitches and not enough innings. Had to leave in the 5th with runners on. Final stat line, 4 2/3, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 6 strikeouts. Wasn't a great game, wasn't a bad game, was just a mad game by Hunter Greene. The Reds back at it tomorrow in New York against the Yankees. As Mr. Kinner alluded to, Ashcraft is the Game 1 starter for the Reds. A 5.45 ERA, 52 strikeouts, and a 1.49 whip. Luis Gil of the Yankees, 9-3 on the year with a 3.15 ERA, 99 strikeouts, and a 1.12 whip. We're going to see drastically different pitchers tomorrow evening.
Back-to-back terrible outings for Gil, his 2 worst outings of the year, so naturally he'll probably go 7 or 8 scoreless against the Reds.
Oh, of course he will.
Yeah.
Pirates, they won their series finale, lose overall to the Braves. 4-2 yesterday, they win. Phillies narrowly defeated the Marlins 7-6. They trailed 6-2 in the 5th and came back. Red Sox cruised past the Padres 4-1. The Yankees crushed the Blue Jays 8-1. Aaron Judge hit his 31st home run, which leads all of Major League Baseball. And I was seeing the comparisons between when he won his MVP and this season, and he's off by just like a couple little numbers here and there.
And he's just way better at normal hitting stats. He's right there on home runs now, too, pacing right over 62. So we'll see what happens there.
Aaron Judge, very good at baseball. The Rays, they shut out the Nationals 5-0. Taj Bradley struck out 11 in 5 2/3 innings of work. Astros win 10-5 in extras over the Mets. It's the first time they've been above 500 this season. The Brewers, they humiliate the Chicago Cubs 7-1, and they lose the series. Reed, your thoughts? Royals get another game back against the Guardians, winning 6-2. Rockies win yesterday to beat the White Sox in extra innings. They did lose the series, which, get this, guys, the Colorado Rockies have only won 1 series on the road this season. Seems like they play much better at home.
How'd they play against the Reds at home?
I don't care. The Giants hit 10 doubles in their rout of the Dodgers, 10-4 final, and it was the most amount of doubles they've hit as a team since 1912. 10 doubles in their victory over the Dodgers. Tigers, they beat the Angels 7-6. Justin Henry Malloy went 2 for 3 with an inside the park home run. I will say this, not a lot of effort out there in center field after the ball hit the wall. It looks like we were trotting around out there, jogging to it, and it was the easiest inside the park home I've ever seen. But Jimmy, they won.
They won a game.
How about that, Jim?
They took one game in
Congratulations.
the series. Yeah, it was a much-needed win. I mean, they tried as hard as possible to give it away. They were up 7-1 going into the bottom of the ninth and gave up 5 with 2 outs. They tried.
Wow.
But they won. And, yeah, that was probably the worst effort I've ever seen by a center fielder.
It was horrible. Rangers, they crushed the Orioles 11-2. Wyatt Langford becomes the first player to hit for the cycle this season. I saw Big Cat's tweet. And if you don't know Big Cat, go look at Big Cat. Big Cat tweeted last night, and I agree with it. Hitting a cycle is more impressive than a no-hitter.
100%. Yeah, I totally agree. No-hitters have lost almost all their luster after that 1 year where we had like 5 or 6.
I think more than that.
That
it was
year,
just all team no-hitters.
and it was all during like a 2-month span. Wade Miley was mixed in there. We got a taste of that.
I was at that one. I was at that one.
That's one of my favorite Reds games I've ever watched on TV.
Oh, yeah.
But it's no-hitters have lost almost all their luster.
No-hitters are only impressive because managers actually keep their pitchers in for
Right.
9 innings. Like,
And
to
I
me, like, that's
really
the-
don't care about team no-hitters.
I think David Bell probably hates no-hitters.
Probably.
I think David Bell's like, screw you. I got your no-hitter over here.
Yeah.
You're probably right.
Yeah.
He definitely does think that. And then he gets on TikTok and makes a couple of videos.
No, he's not. He's about winning. He doesn't do TikTok.
You're right.
Yeah.
WNBA, the Fever beat the Mercury 88-82. Caitlin Clark had
Hilarious.
15 points, 12 assists, 9 rebounds, 1 shy of a triple-double, 6 turnovers just for the fun of it.
That's all right.
Well, not really.
4 of them will probably drop by your teammates.
That's true. She scored or assisted on 44 of their 88 points. 44 of their 88 points.
I think that's probably why the turnovers are okay.
Yeah, I think so.
The ball's in her hands constantly.
Yeah, every time up the court.
Yeah.
I think without Caitlin Clark, the Fever might not be very good at all. NBA. Paul George and the 76ers reached a 4-year, $212 million deal. I'm sure that'll work out great for the Sixers. Maxey and the Sixers also agreed to an extension worth up to $204 million. James Harden and the Clippers are staying together for 2 more years, $70 million. Chris Paul, cut by the Warriors, but he's going to San Antonio to join Wemby. And KCP, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, signed a $66 million 3-year deal with the Orlando Magic. Soccer news before we head off here back to Kinner. The Copa's United States takes on Uruguay tonight at 9 p.m. We got a soccer jersey over here by Jimmy. Are they going to win tonight?
They're favored.
Man.
They are favored because people are saying that Uruguay are sitting a bunch of guys. I think their manager's suspended, I believe, for this game. So they could win. I think Vegas also knows that no matter what they put the line at, everyone in the United States is going to bet on the United States.
Yeah, it's true.
So
You know what's crazy? You could have said anything there, and I would have just had to believe it because I know nothing about
sure.
it.
I didn't know they were playing
no
until
rebuttal.
Kenny walked in, kitted up.
Yeah. Someone said talking soccer hilarious. No one said that. That was just about the WNBA talk.
FC Cincinnati, the Orange and Blue, defeated FC Dallas this weekend 1-0. The final, Luca Oreno was the difference maker. Casey, Luca Oreno, good at soccer? Confirmed?
Very good.
Is this runner up to Acosta for the silver boot or the golden boot?
For the team?
Yeah, just for the team.
I guess.
Golden
Yeah,
boot.
Sure. Why not?
You give him the golden boot. And finally, Cam Davis wins the Rocket Mortgage Classic. Akshay Bhatia missed his first putt inside of 10 feet, and it was to not advance to a playoff and to lose the tournament. Tough way to go out for my guy Bhatia.
I know a thing or two about not performing well on the green, so you know. You can feel his pain as far as that's concerned. Casey, you all right over there?
Yeah, I'm good.
You all right?
Yeah.
He got beat up. He got beat up.
I got rattled.
Yeah.
I got rattled.
He got rattled.
The allegedly. I'm not
Allegedly.
throwing Casey under the bus, so we're going to go allegedly. Allegedly, the headlines intro ruined every speaker this side of the Mississippi.
Oh, no.
Allegedly.
Hey, speakers can't handle off the bench, dude.
Yeah, if you're listening on your car or in your radio, you might be in trouble.
So what I'm hearing is people didn't get the true effect. Like, do you have the volume set correctly now? Maybe we restart it. Not all the headlines, but like, let's just hear how it
We've done this
sounds.
bit before.
Let's just I want to know how it sounds like correctly. Head again.
I could do that if you want.
Now, Elliot, were you through all of Elliot's headlines? No, that wasn't setting you up. I'm asking, were you through all of your headlines?
Oh, yeah. I didn't know what was going on. My God.
July 1st, not a lot of headlines.
Yeah, I think Trace said a little bit ago, he goes, hey, it's okay. We're like the Reds. We have plenty of time to figure it out. So
Even if you never do.
Yeah.
All right, so let's try this one more time. It's time for Elliot's headlines.
Hold on. And here we go.
Elliot loves three things: Joey Votto, David Bell, and leading off the bench with top headlines.
That's
How
it
about
right there.
that?
That sounded great.
That sounded great from my side.
Better?
That sounded great.
We'll see if they liked it.
Let's go back to the chat. Everything good?
They'll probably lie.
I think they'll lie as well.
We good?
It could have been perfect the first time, honestly.
Yeah.
I felt
might have
the
just lied.
energy.
I think they could have lied. They do troll you sometimes, Kenner. They do say
You're gonna have to get used to that.
your
No,
mic-
no troll chat on the radio show.
By the way, I've got there's those fake Twitter accounts. There's probably been my most embarrassing moments on Twitter, not the Joey Votto take. It's when I've fallen for breaking news from fake Twitter accounts.
Yeah, I've gotten
because you're live, like when in Dayton. Because I don't know if you guys know this, AM radio in Dayton, ton of money. Okay, they provide you with everything you need, and so when you're running your cameras or you're running your board, you're doing your mic, you're on your social media, like there's no producer there to tell me that that's a fake tweet, don't buy it. So I'm like reading everything in live time, and then I have this passionate 10-minute just absolute great take, and then I read the chat. Everyone's just making fun of me for 10 straight minutes.
That's brutal.
Live, and then after, of course, because I deserved it. What do? You just eat it.
I think you have to just eat it.
You just eat it.
Yeah.
Put some Frank's Red Hot on that.
Correct.
I put that on everything, dude.
Sure.
Every
Listen.
ads.
We were talking about no sports. I was at my grandparents' house, and they had on the Olympic trials. I guess is what was going on. I did watch some of those races, and it was like the track and field competition was what I was watching. Don't know any of their names, so excuse me. But I was watching it, and this guy was the 5,000 meter race.
Okay.
So I think there's like 13 laps there when you run around. If you calculate it all together, this one guy said, "You know what I'm going to do right off the jump? I'm just going to sprint ahead immediately."
That's a good plan.
Yeah, except he had 10 more laps to go by the time he got tired, and I think he finished in last place. But it was a bold strategy by him to get up to he was almost at like half a track ahead of everybody else, but obviously there was 10 laps left. So that was wild by that guy. Good luck to him.
That's like how my brain works watching the
Yeah.
Olympics. It's like, oh, long race. Let me just sprint to start it and sprint to end
Same thing
it.
with
I'll
boxing.
Save
Same
my.
thing when I watch boxing. I'm like, why do they just kind of ease into this?
Yeah.
Like in my head, and I would get my ass kicked. There's no doubt about it. I'm not a fighter. I talk a lot of smack. I can't. If it came down to a fight, I'm like, okay, you're right. My bad. Burrow's great. Go, who day? Let's not fight about it. All right, you win. But boxing, I watch this and I'm like, just go all ape blank. I just start swinging, dude. Like, what are we doing? Like, yeah. That's how I would start a fight. But that's why I would get knocked out. As far as that's concerned.
I couldn't box. I wore glasses.
You
could probably grapple. You'd be a better UFC fighter.
Okay, I could do that.
What is your sport of choice?
My sport of choice.
If you could be a professional, I mean, I know the bit about the Masters and all this stuff and all that, but like,
It'd have to be tennis.
I'll say tennis.
Tennis.
Tennis is probably.
He was all state.
All city.
All city.
Not all state. Almost all state.
Almost all state. All state.
Almost got it. Well, by the way, and not to change the subject once again, but UFC, I was at the casino on Saturday night.
Huge card Saturday night.
And the entire casino erupted when somebody knocked out somebody. It was Poirier.
It was not.
It was not?
It was Pereira Prohaska.
Almost
so
got it.
You got another P name in there.
It was the same thing, really.
Yeah, no, unbelievable fight. Pereira now 10-2, 2-division champion. They're talking about him moving up to heavyweight. Would be the first 3-division champion in UFC history. It was an incredible, incredible card. They had the co-main event. The guy backed out with 15 minutes to go before the fight. They filled it with about 4 hours. Guy that lives in Vegas was set to fight in 2 weeks. He drove to the arena, fought with 2 hours' notice. They got a new fight scheduled. Unbelievable card. It'll go down in history. 303, one of the best cards ever.
Wow.
Yeah, but did he break out of jail and then make his tea time? Like,
No, not quite.
That's what's impressive.
One of the best cards ever, you say?
One of the best cards ever, for sure.
Honestly, didn't even know there was an event this weekend.
One of the
shots fired.
It was one of the most publicized events of all time.
Was it a good fight?
Incredible. Okay. Yeah, incredible.
It's always good. It's always the worst when there's like a fight that is headlined to be some great fight, and then it's just.
It was supposed to be.
Then I'll watch it.
Yeah.
And then it's not a good fight, and I'm like, this is why.
Saturday was supposed to be McGregor Chandler.
Okay.
This was McGregor Chandler that just passed. Obviously, McGregor backed out with the broken toe. Funny enough, Alex Pereira head kick to win the main event, broke his toe, saving the card. So.
You're so passionate.
A lot of broken. It's my favorite. It's my favorite sport.
No, I'm not even making fun, but like that's what I like. Everyone has like their like different interests because I can't speak on any of that.
Yeah.
But he's just. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
We talked about who's going to be the next sport to break into the Big Four. I'm very, very confident it's going to be UFC.
Really?
Yeah, they're already up to 6. I think they'll get up to 4.
You know what I went to? I went to this particular sports bar. They serve wings. Okay, and I was very shocked when I got to the front. to see it was a big old WWE logo, and it said Monday Night Raw Watch Party in Dayton. Like, so every Monday night you can go watch Monday Night Raw at
That's
the
awesome.
local sports bar establishment in Dayton. Like, I don't,
They had Jalen Brunson and Tyrese Halliburton out there
did see
waving
that.
chairs at each other in the ring. It was awesome.
Pat McAfee has made that cool.
Oh,
I'm
it's
a
been-
huge Pat McAfee fan.
For
man.
sure.
Like, huge Pat McAfee fan as far as that's concerned. But so, by the way, because I'm doing a horrible job with the clock management thing, is that what you see? Look at you. You know,
I'm on it.
Yeah. It's just
I'm ready to roll.
Ready to roll. So on the radio side, that is going to wrap up hour number 1. We'll continue. I almost wanted to say we'll continue to grip it and rip it. Maybe we have to have a little segment that you will run that's called Grip It and Rip It.
It still lives on through us or by you two.
Three.
There could be a Grip It and Rip It segment where you guys just
what I'm
grip it
thinking.
and rip it over there.
Maybe, yeah. And it won't be golf related at all because that seemed to piss some people off. Oh, I tuned in to Grip It and Rip It for golf. There was nothing about the logo that had golf in it. I made that very, very clear. You know? Just saying.
Kinner also claims he didn't try to rhyme with that name.
I did not. That was on accident.
Grip It and Rip It with Kinner and Tissot.
Anything I do that's good is probably on accident.
That's fair.
As far as that's concerned. So, nonetheless, look at him typing away over there. What are you filling out your dating profile?
No.
What you got?
Chat.
Oh.
Big chat.
Oh,
that was
that's
a
part of
massive
the job
chat.
too. The chat. I did forget about that. Someone asked earlier. I got to go back and find it. If we blame Stevenson's daughter for them losing over the weekend, I thought that was a little mean. Wasn't that a little mean?
That was a cool video of him coming out of the game, going down the dugout, getting all the taps on the helmet from all the teammates.
That was cool.
It was cool.
Yeah, so cool. As if we need more reasons for players to miss games. So cool. All right, you know.
We got to give him a pass for his
They
first
just
child.
need to have sexual relations during the season so they can have all their kids in the off season.
Correct.
You're interrupting play. How about that take?
Disrespectful.
Do you think he planned it for in season so he gets an extra day off?
I mean, of all the injury, of all the IL updates I've seen this year, the paternity list one's my favorite. Which, by the way, that's coming from a guy with no kids. So one day I'll be able to relate. One day. All right, I ignored your.
Yeah, we're way past now.
Yeah, we're well past that. So we'll be. It'll just be. I'll make it up. Not Grip It and Rip It off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, right here on Chatterbox Sports on YouTube and 1410 ESPN Radio. All right, welcome back. Justin Kinner, Elliot Rearing, Jacob Tissot. We also have the producer extraordinaire, Mr. Casey McAllister. We got Jimmy. We have everyone holding the fort down today, the round table of guys who are keeping me honest, right? And even though they try to keep me honest with the clock, I ignore it, and I do my own thing. You know, it's a good way to...
You're the radio professional. We follow your lead.
I'm the radio. You can end it at radio. A lot of things you can put underneath, like to replace, like professional, as far as that's concerned.
You're the radio.
You are physically the radio.
Yeah, you are the radio. Trace Fowler said, what up? Trace says, paternity list is woke. Next on Off the Bench. That's a great... In fact, let's do that. All right, let's go around the room. Paternity list. Woke or not woke? That's a new... Woke or not woke?
Woke or not woke?
I like it.
That'll be
go
great.
over well.
That'll go over real well.
Very well.
When we clip that up and put it on socials. Woke or not woke, Jim? The paternity list.
I'm not answering that question.
Wow. Interesting.
Foot down.
Yeah. He likes to stick to sports as he has his USA shirt on.
He says he's a company man, but
Yes.
he won't answer the hard questions.
Casey, woke or not woke?
Oh man, I'm gonna go with woke. I think it's woke.
Nice.
I'm gonna go
Nice.
first kid, not woke. Anything after first kid, play the game.
I agree. I actually agree with that
Wow.
take. First kid, yeah.
First kid, not woke. Second, third, fourth, fifth. If you get like fifth kid, it's
Fifth
I mean,
kid.
don't even go.
Fifth kid during the season, you don't need to be.
No chance.
My gosh. But I do like I like that. First kid, not woke. Second, third, fourth, fifth. I mean, however many of these people are, having good for them. It is what it is.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait for the next debate, by the way.
Same.
We are definitely talking politics on this.
Oh yeah.
Let's do it. That'll get
Definitely.
the people fired up.
Yeah.
On this, what is it, Monday morning?
Yeah. But the good thing is that I love that everyone can have their own opinions and just talk about it peacefully and not have to call names and stuff. Like, that's not how this world works, right?
Yeah.
At least 10 to 12, Monday through Friday,
Sure.
Chatterbox Sports. Wink, wink, as far as that's concerned. But, no, we're coming off hour number 1 on the radio side, and I wanted to open up with this. We talked a lot of baseball in that opening hour. I want to continue talking a little baseball with this Cincinnati Reds conversation. So how about Jonathan India? Jonathan India's been playing all right, right? Like, he's been playing okay.
Yeah, I think he's been playing a little bit better than that, and that's
So,
good to see.
He is one of the more polarizing Cincinnati Reds players because it's like when he's not playing well, Should have got rid of him. Should have traded him. Then when he plays, like he's the one player on this roster I feel like we don't enjoy because when he's not playing well, why do we keep him? Should have traded him in the offseason. And then when he plays well, all I see is got to trade him now while his stock is high. And it's absolutely insane to me for a guy that I know had some injuries in that second stint, missed some time. I mean, look, you're going to miss games. It's 162 games, right? Like, I don't know how many games you have to consistently miss before you're viewed as injury prone. But Jonathan India is known for a lot of things, all right? But the number one thing that is talked about with him is his leadership within that clubhouse. And I think that's very key when you talk about a team as young as the Cincinnati Reds. That's not a hot take. I'm not telling you anything that you guys already don't know when it comes to Jonathan India, the Cincinnati Reds team. But what he's starting to do now is put up numbers that are more than just impressive. I mean, if you look at over the last 16 games, hitting .421, I know average doesn't matter to everybody, but just to put that into perspective, 24 hits, has a home run in that stint, 7 RBIs, 12 runs scored, all in that 16-game span, and just continues to be a very important piece for this team offensively that doesn't have a whole lot of offense. I mean, that's what's insane when it's all said and done. And I guess, I've heard various topics on this. I know you guys have talked about how the Reds don't treat their star players very well. I'm not putting Jonathan India in that Elly De La Cruz, Joe Burrow conversation, not by any means, but Jonathan India catches a lot of strays. And I just don't get it because he has this cool look to him. He carries himself differently than everybody else. He's a guy that when you look at him, he has a personality and he brings substance to the Cincinnati Reds that I think is very crucial for a team that has a lot of guys trying to figure themselves out, figure their roles out, and how they fit into the big scheme of things. I know that right now the big problem with him is where does he fit in because of need and this, that, and the other. But that's a good problem to have if you have depth at multiple positions and you're trying to figure out how you're going to move people around. I'd rather have that problem than not knowing how you're going to address any of these positions. So I'll take that. But Jonathan India, I feel like we should not, every time he goes on a hot stretch like he is right now, it should not be met with constant, especially as the deadline's approaching, well, they need to move on from him now while it's hot. Unless I'm wrong, I'm curious your guys' thoughts. Jonathan India, is he hitting his way out of Cincinnati? Is he playing his way out of Cincinnati? I know we talk a lot about the Reds being buyers or sellers come the deadline here around the corner. And I'm like, okay, we talk about selling. I'm like, well, who are you selling? Obviously, the Candelario move would make sense. You brought him in the offseason. It's not like he's a part of your long-term future. Okay, maybe some of the arms. Obviously, the prospects have been deemed kind of untouchable. The top prospects, as we've heard, last deadline, this past offseason, even coming into this deadline. So who are the realistic pieces that you can technically move on from? I find it wild that in a season where we've done nothing but bitch, moan, and complain of guys who aren't available, guys who keep getting injured, guys who are healthy and in the lineup and aren't producing, that the one guy that's producing and doing what he was kept to do, which was be a leader off the field, in the clubhouse, and now leading on the field better than anyone right now, I just have a hard time accepting any kind of social media slander for Jonathan India. He's one of my favorite Reds right now. I would hate to see the Reds move on from him. We can talk about the Matt McClains and the TJ Friedels, and we can talk about what it would mean for the team if they get them back. Let's focus on the guy that's there every single day right now, and that is Jonathan India, and hopefully it stays that way, by the way. But where are you guys at with Jonathan India? I'm a big India fan. I feel like I'm going to go to social media after a game and see all this praise for him, and it's nothing but got to move on from him. We got to strike while the iron's hot. I'm a Jonathan India guy. I do not want to see the Reds move on from him, and I think it's wild that some are saying he's hitting his way out of Cincinnati.
You're probably just looking at my Twitter after games because that's everything I'm tweeting is about moving Jonathan India. I said the same thing last year. I thought at the trade deadline last year his value would never get higher. Well, I was wrong. He's having the best month of his career by a wide margin right now. And if you can keep it up till the trade deadline, I don't think there's any excuse to keep him on this Reds team. And obviously that comes back to if there's some kind of internal feeling about Matt McClain not being ready, not ever returning to form. But if all the reports coming out are true that they expect that he'll return to full strength, whether this year or presumably next, I don't understand how you keep Jonathan India here. He's too good of a bench bat to just have sitting on the bench when you're all healthy. He doesn't have a spot in this infield. Again, if everyone's healthy, I don't know how you can't move on from him if you can get some really, really good returns this year. There's only going to be a handful, 5, 6, maybe 7 sellers this year total with how bunched up the National League is in the wild card race. I think you absolutely have to move Jonathan India because you can maximize the return now, whereas next year, if everyone's playing, he's probably on your bench.
I said earlier this season that you could probably look to move him, and I wouldn't be upset with it. As of right now, I'm not on that camp any longer. It's just because this is why you don't trade Jonathan India. This season, when it seems like half the roster is consistently hurt. We're banking on everybody to be healthy next year? I'm not going to make that bet. Matt McClain, I love him. This is now 2 season-ending injuries he's had in 2 seasons with the Reds. So I don't know how long we're going to keep playing this game where these guys, they're going to be healthy. Future, and Kinner alluded to it earlier in the show. The future, the future, the future. Matt McClain's the future. Noelvi's the future. And we can keep saying that, but Jonathan India's right now. He's here right now, and he's playing better than anybody on the team offensively. That's what Jonathan India's been. He's also improved, as we've said on our show a couple of times now. Defensively, he's been a much better player. Far better than the past couple of seasons. This is why you don't trade guys like Jonathan India. So when the rest of the future gets hurt and you don't have them or does steroids, you have a guy like Jonathan India that can play every day and take up that mantle. Next year, does he have an official spot on the infield? I don't know, because I don't know who's going to be here. I don't know who's going to be ready to play baseball and come late April, come late March. I don't know who's going to be here anymore. So now there's a couple for sure things that I know. Ellie De La Cruz is going to keep playing baseball. God love him. I keep making the point. He's been healthy. Jonathan India is also going to be healthy. And if I'm going to bank on that.
He's had a lot of injury problems in his career.
Sure. This season, healthy. So if that's the case, then I'm gonna roll with the guy that's been healthy.
The other point I'd like to also point out to you guys is that his role on this team this year, when everyone was healthy, wasn't even going to be in the infield.
Right.
I mean,
Correct.
He was going to be a versatile type piece on this team that provided depth in the outfield, and maybe he would DH, I think, was part of his plan possibly when other guys couldn't. I want to keep him just for depth. I, for one, cannot stand the fact that in the last 2 years we have been one of the most injury-riddled teams in all of baseball. He provides you a guy that, one, doesn't get hurt often, two, stable presence, and a guy that's been in the locker room for now, 3-4 years? So I say you keep him. I mean, he's a solid offensive piece right now on this team. If you don't have him, what do you have then? You
don't have a lot.
You
have a team full of AA players is what you have if you don't have Jonathan India this season. And that's not a good place to be. And I can continue to you disagree that we don't.
I think trading him and this team's not
disagree.
competitive this year. I don't care about this year. If you can trade him and be better for next year without him, with better prospects and better people on the roster, I would rather do that.
So
if you're going to have a guy play a bench spot, I would rather it be a prospect and a young guy than someone who's on the last year of arbitration, with which India would be next year.
So July 1st, Reds are 39-45, and you're saying they are out, done.
Yes, I do not think the Reds are competitive, and this
They're
isn't new.
It's like they're. And I've said
could
this,
they make the wild card? Maybe. Is that what I care about? No.
mathematically being in it versus
Really being
like
contending.
as far as a vibe.
That's what we
is
just talked about with the
yeah.
Guardians. They have the best record in baseball, and no one thinks they can win a World Series.
Right.
But I know you had something, Jimmy.
Yeah, I think I side more with Jacob here on the.
All right,
India
you're done,
thing.
Jimmy. No, keep going.
Because you quoted that he's hitting his way out of Cincinnati. I think he's super hot. I don't think his value is going to be any higher than it is right now. And I do think that if you keep him fearing more injuries in the future from those guys that you're admitting, like Noelvi and McClain and Ellie, are going to be the heart of your middle infield for the future, I think holding on to India when his value is this good is like kind of giving in to the fear of what if everyone gets hurt again, and then you're never going to take that next step. Thinking about it like that.
What's the value of him next year if there is an injury, right? And then what's the value that you're actually going to get in return for him?
How good are the Reds if there's an injury?
I'm just asking, what is the value you're getting for India this second? Are you
hope it's high
getting
because there's few
depth players? Are you getting 2 depth players, or are you getting a guy that you won't see for 3 or 4 years?
Either way.
You would not get a player that you would see this year for Jonathan India. You would get a guy to help the farm, and by all means, the Reds need help with their farm system. I mean, it's not good right now.
Not great.
Take a good look at Connor Phillips today. Not very good. So I wouldn't be upset with trading.
Couldn't trade
India.
him last year either because future.
Yeah. I wouldn't be upset if they traded Jonathan India. I'm just saying I've seen the Reds over the past several seasons continually not be healthy, and if I can have a guy that's able to replace somebody when they are not healthy, I would like to keep him as depth. But Jacob is right in the sense that he's too good to be just off the bench. but he also is not good enough to replace Matt McClain at second base. So what do you have there? He can't go into left field because Spencer Steer is in left field. He really can't go to right field because you have to have somebody, either Jake Fraley, Will Benson, whoever, player X out there. And center fielder, he's not a center fielder, so he's not going there either. The rest of the infield's filled. You don't have a starting place for Jonathan India. And that's the part of the argument I understand. If we want to trade him right now and you can give me a top-level prospect, fine. I'll do it because, as Jacob said, this season is not going to go our way. We can sit here and pretend, and they can win another 7 games in a row, but nobody's going to believe this team. They just played a series where they scored 20 runs and got shut out twice. Who does that? 20 runs and they got shut out twice in the same series. That's outrageous. So, yeah, we can sit here and say this team is in the hunt. They're mathematically alive, and by all means, they technically are. But if you watch this team, and I have to continue to watch Levi Jordan, Nick Martini, Santiago Espinal, all these guys, Luke Maley, get at-bat after at-bat, I'm not going to sit here and say they're a competitive team right now. They're fine. They're in the hunt in a terrible National League.
So the one thing about this, too, that I find – so – you look at the fact that Matt McClain, he's played in 89 total career games. Didn't play all of last season, obviously got called up late, and then missed some games down the stretch, and then, of course, out for all of this season. We're basing – and, again, I need to see how Jonathan India – this is based on – it's not just the 16 games of Jonathan India. Jonathan India, former Rookie of the Year, he's done enough throughout the totality of his career to have this discussion. It's just now being emphasized more because this is one of the hottest streaks he's had as a Red, right? So we've seen more of Jonathan India, and if this is who he is, and I don't expect him to be a 300 hitter, constantly moving forward, but if he's some form of this, to move on from that because you're hoping that Matt McClain will be what you expect him to be, just like you're hoping that what TJ Friedel could be, like you're hoping, obviously, what Christian Encarnacion Strand and Spencer Steer and this, that, and the other. But the bottom line is at some point, you got to be more confident in what you know about a guy instead of what you're hoping a guy will become. The Matt McClain thing, I'm not here to bury Matt McClain at all, but man, like we put so much stock into Steer and Christian Encarnacion Strand and all these young guys coming into the year. And obviously Christian Encarnacion Strand's been hurt, but Steer's just been okay. Like, he's been okay. Like, these guys haven't taken that major big step. It's like, so to sit here and say we could definitively know that Matt McClain is just the second baseman of the future, I think that's a big-time gamble. I know, we're all gamblers here, but that's a big-time gamble to say that we feel 1,000,000% confident that we can move on from proven veteran leadership like Jonathan India because of what we hope he's going to become. That's no different than the hope that we're putting into everyone in the farm system coming up. So that's where everything kind of lies with me, is at some point you got to stick to what you know versus what you hope. And if not, it's a
what do we know Jonathan India is, though? Because for the last 2 years, he's been a 240 hitter, which is with a drastically below average glove. Mm-hmm. For the last month, he's been very good. If you can trade him at very good for very good value when he's not a very good player, I think that's maximizing his talent.
Oh, I thought you were jumping in. So
I was just going to say.
I also think the versatility is completely a lie. We drafted him as a third baseman. He got moved to shortstop. He couldn't play shortstop. He didn't have the arm for third base. You play him at second. He plays first base in training camp. Then you have Rush CES back, and then he plays first, and Jamer plays first, and Steer plays first. Steer's a horrendous glove in the outfield. I don't think India's just going to magically be a good glove in the outfield. I think he's a second baseman or a bench bat.
Jacob said training camp. He said training camp.
Spring training.
He said training camp.
Yeah.
Idiot.
Nick Senzel was supposed to be the next coming too, and we've seen how that worked out for the Reds. So I'm not going to put all my weight into the Matt McClain basket, but I do agree again with Jacob. Putting him in left field doesn't really fix anything. If Jonathan India's going to hit like this, he can play wherever he wants. And that's the part of baseball where I don't think defenses matters as much if you're a top-level hitter. But we know what is Jonathan India? He's not this. He might be close to this at some point, but he is not a 370 hitter over his last month, and that's not what he'll be when this season ends. We all know that. Nobody's immune to that fact. I would like to keep Jonathan India for the depth, but if you're able to, let me rephrase. If you're able to trade him for somebody that's very, very good value, then I would make
that
the
is
trade.
Obviously very important. I don't want people to think I'm sitting here. You're not calling teams like trying to get Jonathan India off your roster. That is not what I mean. I'm saying if teams are looking for a starting second baseman, a good DH, Jonathan India could be one of the best at those slots at this deadline, and you could get some really good pieces back.
What I would I'm going to go back to my question again. What is that value that makes sense?
It depends on what other teams are giving up.
But is it like a prospect that plays next year, a top level prospect?
It will not.
I don't care about next year or this year.
It will not be a player that plays probably
this year or next year, maybe even not even the year after.
Then I'm out. Like
that's not what trades are.
Yeah, that's just
and we're not a win now team. We're not even close to win now.
Yeah, but hang on. We're not close to a win now team.
No.
Everyone's
Look at this roster.
Real quick,
healthy.
not a win now team because of injuries this season.
No. The win total healthy this year was 500. This team was going to battle to be 500.
According to Vegas.
This team was going to battle to be 500 and battle to maybe compete in the Central this year if completely healthy. This team is not a World Series contender healthy.
Right.
Don't think that. This team's 3-4 years away, if healthy, from being a World Series contender.
Yep.
3 or 4.
And 3-4 pieces in a starting lineup away from being a contender.
My number's 2 years.
2 or 3 maybe is more like it. This team completely healthy this year was not competing for a World Series.
The one thing that they have, though, that is the most important, Hunter Greene, Nick Lodolo. Because that at the end of the day, I know you could sit there and say, well, look, they've lost all these games. Look at this past series. 2 great pitching performances, and they've lost. But I'm not saying anything in baseball is easy to fix, but it's a lot easier to fix the scoring production than it is getting pitching that can do what we've just watched this past series with the Cardinals. But this is what I love about the Reds. Never, we're always so close. We're not at the bottom of the barrel like we've been in years past, but we're nowhere near the top. This is a great place to live.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Not for
mediocrity, baby. You got Jacob over here confidently saying, we're still 2 to 3 years away.
3 said 3 to 4.
3
He
to 4.
He might have said a whole decade.
That's a whole other rebuild.
If I didn't jump in, he might have said 2050.
25, 26, 27 was always the goal for this core to compete. Last year, you won 12 games in a row, which moved that up for a lot of casual fans. It didn't move up the actual timeline.
That's a whole other rebuild right there. That's why I hate baseball.
And
for
also,
that reason. I hate the long rebuild.
You talk about trading prospects. If you traded prospects 5 years ago, you don't have Ellie, McClain, and Marte coming up. So you have to hold on to prospects if you're a small market team you want to compete.
Or then you would have been winning 4 or 5 years ago, and you wouldn't have been in position to get those guys. But it's a lot easier to accept not having those guys than.
I think if you trade prospects as a small market team, you're getting 1-2 year rentals of guys that go sign elsewhere.
Yep.
You have to rely on prospects to come up, and you get 5 years out of them.
I like rentals. I rented for 30 years of my life. I didn't own my first home until I was in my 30s. And I bought my house at a very, very good time.
That's good for you.
Just saying, the market is, it is what it is. I've once again ignored Elliot's signal to, take the little pause in the action. Do you guys do like reads or something like?
Yeah. So what we're gonna do is when we go to break for the radio, we're also gonna go to break for the YouTube.
Oh, a lot of breaks coming up, but the most important break is this one. We'll be right back again. Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. I'm Justin Kinner, Elliot Rearing, Jacob Tissick, Casey McAllister, and Jimmy Collins. We got the whole group holding it down here today on a Monday. Happy July 1st. We'll be right back.
All right, I'm going to take it over from here and do some of the ads here for us. Always thank you to UDF for being the main sponsor of our show. But we've got a couple other ads that we got to read here, some other sponsors of the show. Encore Technologies, they provide IT solutions for a data-centered world with a suite of services from mobile computing to desktop to data center, supporting both centralized and work-from-home computing modules to improve efficiency and
productivity.
That's right, Jimbo.
That's right, Jimbo. Visit encore.tech. The path to innovation begins here. Let me tell you about this lovely bottle of water right here. Pawnee Water. Made right here in Hamilton, Ohio, it uses natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing of the brands used. The result being a healthy alkaline water, and some saying the best tasting water in the world. Visit Pawnee Water at PAHHNIwater.com so you can buy this great tasting water. And we have our ticketing sponsor, the Game Time app. They have different deals going on right now for Bengals tickets. I believe that they have tickets available for the Tigers game here on July 5th and the 6th. Yep. Ticket prices are as low as $16. Hey, tonight there's tickets for $5 to go to a Dragons game, Dayton Dragons. From those that are from Dayton
That's
listening.
tough because they are always sold out.
And and of course they have Bengals ticket deals. Charlotte FC, they play Cincinnati on the 13th, and lots of other things to check out. So just download the Game Time app, use code OTB for $20 off your first purchase. Again, terms apply. Create an account and redeem code OTB for $20 off your first purchase. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. Also, some other housekeeping notes. We will have box lunch after this show for the members only, so stick around for that. Leave a like. Share the show with a friend. We would appreciate it. New look. Kenner, how's it going for your first show?
I think it's okay. I'm probably fumbling some things, and that's okay. You know, as Trey said, we have plenty of time.
Sure.
To figure it out.
Plenty of time until the next host takes over.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
we'll
Know,
go
it's
from
this
there.
chair.
New look.
It's like
Plenty of time.
New look.
We're keeping the schedule intact. Kenner's got like 2 weeks.
Yeah, he's
I
got
got
about
2 more
2.5
days.
weeks.
Technically, shows we did weeks because we only did a couple shows a week.
That's true. That's true. You're almost out already.
Yeah, when Trey sat me down after our third, all right,
Is it that
grip it and
bad?
rip it, I was like, damn, that's pretty impressive. I somehow have been able to dupe radio to keep me around for as long as they have. So whatever. But so as far as for tomorrow's show for new members, okay, so like everyone that tunes in, we appreciate that. But we're gonna have a special deal tomorrow for those who want to become new members. We're gonna have a little giveaway.
Oh, very cool.
All right, we'll announce what that giveaway is, but you got to be tuning in to tomorrow's show to find out what that particular giveaway is. I talked with Trace already. So again, to be eligible for this particular prize, you have to become a new member starting tomorrow. And then, of course, we'll have a separate giveaway that we'll do for those who are already members. And the rule is Elliot's not allowed to run giveaways, correct? Is that what has been told to me in years past?
I'm allowed to run whatever giveaway I want. Here's the issue. I made one mistake one time where I think I said Mark's name too soon. Spoiler, Mark wins it all. That's not my fault. That's Mark's fault. You can blame Fetters, not me.
Mark's in every stream this company's ever created. So he can get a couple giveaways.
So that's all the mistake was?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh.
We did a giveaway when we went to Arizona, and I may or may not have made a mistake.
Look at you getting salty, dude. I have margarita
Well, it was
with all
just
that
that I got
saltiness over
blamed
there.
for that. I think Randy almost took my head off for it. So it was like, listen, I'm going to be very nice, and I'm not going to do your giveaways anymore. I'll give away something else on my own time.
It's fair. That's more than fair. But I've never seen him get this defensive.
I am. I'm defensive.
You're usually a
about
very
it.
happy person.
I am.
They're saying you gave 4 people 1 ticket one time?
See, that's what I heard too. But
that
I wanted
true?
I wanted him to lead that.
That was another one. Yeah.
There's
Oh, so we have 2.
Yeah.
You're burying the lead.
Hey,
yeah, excellent. Yeah.
Hey, Elliot, I need you to smile. You want to make fun of my Joey Votto take again?
No, I'm now in the dumpster. I'm now in the dumpster.
You're
So good
sad?
luck. Good luck bringing me back up. It's your job now as host to bring me out of this low point.
Now let's talk about the Reds.
Yeah, please. That'll spark my interest.
You could be a 45-minute guest on my show today.
Yeah.
There it is. There it is. We're good. We are golden. Nonetheless. But all right. So we got to get back to the radio side of things. I think we're good. So we got the LeBron topic coming up. Everyone loves bashing LeBron except this guy.
Oh, never.
Not me. I
You
don't
couldn't
bash
catch me dead bashing LeBron.
Not dead. Not even
Not
dead.
dead.
Never. I would never do
Interesting.
that.
We all everyone's LeBron lovers in here.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
worst.
People think I hate LeBron just based on this take I'm about to have.
I think you hate LeBron because of this take as well.
I don't. I just think you can't plan your own surprise party and then walk in and act surprised.
The best parties I've ever planned, I've planned for myself.
What?
The best parties I've ever had, I've planned for myself.
But you don't act surprised. when you
Sure
walk
I
in the
do.
room.
It's more fun.
Well, let's get into it. Let's start this radio conversation, okay? So give me the countdown, and we'll get off and rolling. All right, and we are back off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers here, off the bench again on Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio, off and rolling. So we're going to talk a little LeBron James. Couple LeBron James points, NBA free agency off and rolling. We'll get to some free agency stuff coming up here in a moment. Lakers possibly looking to be a little active because, well, LeBron, the selfish jerk that he is he wants to get paid less money to cheat his way to a championship is how it's being framed by the haters. So we'll talk about that in a moment. But one thing I am not is a LeBron hater, no matter what Jacob tries to convince you of. You don't know.
I don't know.
Like, this
saw
Bronny
that
James,
clip.
here's the deal. So I think a lot of things can be true. So Friday, I got so nauseated with the media because LeBron does have the media in the palm of his hand. And if I actually worked for ESPN and not fake ESPN in Dayton, maybe I would actually be in the palm of LeBron James and have to say only nice things about him, or he'll get you fired like you're Rachel Nichols, right? Like, that's just the reality of it. Sure. So, but the bottom line is to have his lead media guys like Brian Windhorst and Jacob Tissett and guys like that, like, just, pumping him up. Like, this Bronny James thing, like going to the Lakers, that's what happened. He went to the Lakers, but like, that's where the feel good butterflies in my stomach stops. You can't stop what didn't start. This isn't a feel good moment. This isn't something that like just happened out of nowhere. It just happened to work out. This isn't just something that, we thought a lot of teams were going to take him. Oh, maybe a couple were, but his agent had to go bully him. All these teams, if you take him, he's going to go play in Australia, which I'm not really 100% convinced that some of those teams weren't calling Rich Paul saying he should probably go play in Australia. But that's besides the point. So he ends up with the Lakers. That is cool. No problem with that. It'll be really cool when you see Bronny and LeBron on the floor in a preseason game. And maybe moving forward, who knows? But the bottom line is you forced it to happen. You bullied teams not to take him. You forced the Lakers to take him. And the bottom line is, and I've talked to multiple people, especially people that were covering the McDonald's All-Star American game, that cover high school basketball recruiting, talking about the fact that Bronny's a very good basketball player. But 5 points per game. I don't know how 5 points per game. And again, I know Jacob, he's sitting over here. He has it locked in the chamber. He's going to go find some guys that were drafted that average 5 points per game. He's so excited. Over here, it is insane how excited he is. Look, that leg is just shaking. Look at it. There's the laugh, the giggle, the Jacob giggle. I mean, he's ready to rock. But the bottom line is, no one has ever once looked at Bronny and said, man, oh man, he is ready to fire on these NBA teams and take over. I just don't see it. LeBron forced it to happen. That's why, to me, it's not like a feel-good thing. Like, you forced it to happen. It didn't just naturally happen. It is what it is. He planned his own surprise party. He invited all of his guests. All right? He said, shh, don't tell me. It's a surprise party for me. I want to be really surprised. All right? And I want you all to hide behind the couch. And when I walk in, I need you all to jump out. All right? But make sure you're quiet before I walk in because I want to be surprised. And then when he walked in, everyone jumped out. Hands, palms in the air as if he just got fouled and the referee missed it like he always does. All right, and then he's I'm so surprised. I can't believe this. This is such a feel-good moment. How could something like this happen? You forced it to happen. You invited them. You told them where to hide. You told them when to jump out. You knew when you were going to walk in. They knew when you were going to walk in. You can't plan your own surprise party and then act surprised. You can't force your son to go to the team that you're playing for and then act surprised that it happened. I'm just saying. He put out the little emotional tweet. Did you see the emotional tweet, Jacob?
I got emotional.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, he's just so emotional. Like, this is my life. Like, he's just so excited. It is cool he's playing with his son, especially considering how long he's been in the league and how long he's dominated. But, man, oh, man. It just feel like this isn't as feel good as you think it is when you force it to happen. But what do I know? Let's go to the LeBron fans. We'll start with Jacob Tissett. Tell us why this is such a great story.
I think it's the coolest thing that I've ever seen in sports. Obviously, I wasn't alive in '91 for Griffey coming up with his dad. That's obviously a little different. Yeah. Ken Griffey Jr. was obviously one of the best baseball players of all time. People forget Senior was on his way out. He was old and he was on his way out. His career extended drastically by being on those rosters with Junior. So that's another thing that we always have to talk about. And then Wojnarowski pointed out a great point that nepotism happens everywhere in sports. Bruce Pearl's lead coach on his Auburn staff is his dad. Or is his son? And
Woj is in the palm.
So am I. So I'm gonna run with the bit. Different owners have their sons on the staff. The entire Suns ownership group is the owner, and then his entire family that runs their ins and outs of that organization. And then you have guys like Giannis, who's one of the best players in the league, has his brother, who's much worse than Bronny, on that roster, getting not meaningful playing time, but getting minutes and blowouts and stuff like that, which is exactly what Bronny's gonna do. There were two people that were drafted in the first round that aren't even coming over for 2 more years because they play foreign basketball. So Bronny playing in the G League isn't going to change anything from that. Draft picks don't make immediate impact all the time. The people drafted after Bronny in the second round, almost all of them have already been announced as 2-way contracts, summer league contracts, or going to the G League right away. So it's no different that Bronny's not going to contribute right away being a second-round pick. And at pick 55, I think people that hate on it have to pick a side. Either Bronny's not good enough to be drafted and LeBron got him drafted, or it's the worst thing ever that LeBron called all these teams and told him not to pick him. Either all these teams before the Lakers were going to pick him and he's good enough to be drafted, or he's not good enough to be drafted and he only got drafted because of LeBron. You can't have both ways. Bronny was one of the top recruits out of high school. He was a McDonald's All-American. Whether you want to say that was because of his dad or not, whatever, that's fine. But he was a top 30 recruit out of high school. He put up great numbers in high school. He had a heart attack in January, and he still was a meaningful player, a rotational player on a Power 5 team. He shows good signs of being a perimeter defender. He shoots at a high percentage from three. I think this is really, really cool, whether Bronny deserved it or not. I think taking someone at 55, you don't expect him to contribute to your team anyway, so getting someone like Bronny, it doesn't get much cooler than that.
Yeah. Did he deserve to be picked with the 55th overall pick? No, he did not. Based on his college stats, absolutely not. So if that's the argument, you guys are right. But if we're going to sit here and say that the best player, maybe the second best player in certain circles of all time, shouldn't have a say in whether or not his very good basketball son can go up and join his team, why not make him happy? Because I'm going to read you off some of these 55th overall picks from the past 20 years, since the year 2000. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's 3 that are worth a damn. Luis Scola, Patty Mills, and Andrew. No, was that Aaron Wiggins?
Aaron.
Oh, then never mind. 2. I thought it was Andrew. So never mind. I was wrong.
Andrew went number 1 overall.
You're right. So,
and then traded.
So 2 players the last 25 years of work. And these are names like Marcus Page, did nothing. Who is Katie Lillane? Do we know who that is? Samaje Christian out of Xavier. Did he contribute a ton? Probably not. Jeffrey Lavarne, Darius Johnson Odom, Etwan Moore, I guess, is still in the NBA. Maybe he's good enough. Herbert Hill, Rick Rickert.
Ooh, really?
So these are all picks that we can sit here and say maybe you'll get a great 6th man of the year, or you can take LeBron's son and make him happy and make it a cool story. I know which one I'd take.
So with that, all of those 55th picks, like the reason I respect the hell out of them is because they all played at schools that no one really pays a hell of a lot of attention to. Those names no one's ever heard of, but they somehow, their talent found a way to trickle up the vine. Now, I didn't do a good job of making my point clear. Bottom line is, I don't think he deserved to be picked number 55. I guess and I had no problem with any of this until I saw he's sitting in the room with his family and then he acts surprised. He already had the Lakers hat ready to pop on his head. That's the stuff I was poking fun at was anything else. I'm like, they're just acting
I don't think anybody acted like it was a surprise. I think he was like, I'm surprised that I get to play with my son in the NBA. Because it
was the fact that it came to fruition, not the
Correct.
Lakers drafting him.
Nobody was surprised. I mean, we had Rich Paul calling teams saying he's going to go play in Australia.
He was minus 150 to go to the Lakers, plus 300 to go to any other team.
So, this isn't a surprise to anybody. LeBron knew it wasn't a surprise. He was just saying it's a cool moment. And I don't think it's a big deal at all.
So, we have a super chat.
We sure do.
$4.99. I mean, I love that it wasn't just a full $5. I love that it's $4.99.
Yeah.
That is my favorite. But he says, well, he's LeBron James. I'll just say it's LeBron James.
Yeah, please. That would
LeBron James could hurt a child, and Jacob would still take it from him as far as that's concerned. He would
Put in the chat right below, 100%. No question about it.
Also, we have some more super chat. It reminded me to read the super chats. Drew Garrison, $5. More chances for me to gently bully Kinner.
Gently.
Drew Garrison, $5. Hashtag fire Kinner.
Man, already.
Justin Edgel, $1.99. Before that one, Team Roids here. Hashtag Arnold McAllister.
Kinner's fitting right in perfectly. This is what you talk about with the WNBA. When people start making jokes about Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese killing their parlays, that's how you know they've made it. Correct. Fire Kinner already trending on day one.
The fact that we talk WNBA is hilarious.
Yeah, it is.
That's what they're saying.
It's hilarious.
That's what they're saying. So it's like, it is what it is. But no, so with that being said, look, Bronny is officially a Laker. Well, he is drafted by the Lakers, officially a Laker. We don't know. We're going to get to see him, playing some summer ball games, I'm assuming, right? Summer League.
Yep.
As far as that goes, that'll be cool. But the other thing that I found interesting that kind of came out that, LeBron willing to take a pay cut to obviously allow the Lakers a little bit more cap flexibility to go after some bigger names in free agency. One of those names, Klay Thompson and some others. But the thing that's interesting about that is, well, why would he do that now? Okay, for the last couple of years, he hasn't been very flexible to allow them to have that, opportunity to go and add talent, to the roster as far as that's concerned. So why now? Okay, and you take a look up on the screen. LeBron James willing to take a $20 million pay cut in order for the Lakers to secure the full mid-level exception, which that's a whole other topic, by the way. That has really helped the NBA. For everyone out there that was tired of all these superstars just gathering up and hanging out on one team, it's actually not screwed over, but it's actually prevented some teams from adding megastars to their roster. I mean, the Warriors wanted to add Paul George, and they couldn't unless they could trade for him. They couldn't pull it off. But Klay Thompson and Jonas, can you pronounce
Valanciunas, he just signed somewhere else.
Just
this
signed
morning.
with the Wizards.
Yeah, so
5 hours ago.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So I can't even say that, I didn't see it because I was on the show. It was more than 5 hours ago. That's a long time ago. Good to know. So that leaves him with Klay Thompson potentially.
That's the main goal.
Interesting. So there's a couple of the – what's that?
Klay Thompson's just great now.
Yeah, everyone thought Ray Allen was a washed-up shooter when he went to Miami, too. Worked pretty good for LeBron. If he can drive and kick to one of the best shooters of all time, it'd be pretty cool.
I like the addition of Klay Thompson to the Lakers if they could pull that off. But, like, when you start wondering, okay, why has LeBron all of a sudden now decided that he's going to take less money to help this roster? Like I've always said, too, I want to see from these athletes, in the back end, LeBron's legacy has always been about trying to get to those, ring totals to either, tie Jordan or pass him. But I still don't even think that that's what this is about, because it's one thing to play with your son, Bronny.
It's another thing to win.
But it might be another to win a championship with your son, Bronny. I don't think it's a surprise now that for the last couple of years, I almost said the Reds, the Lakers, they've had Anthony Davis, they've had LeBron James, they've had very competitive rosters, but it's not as if LeBron has been very hands-on as far as willing to take less to all of a sudden allow them some flexibility to go add some mega stars to the roster. Now all of a sudden he's doing it. Like I said, it's one thing to want to play with your son, Bronny, but it might be a whole other thing to win a championship with your son, Bronny. I think that's why all of a sudden that urgency is there. A $20 million sacrifice to allow this team to add another competitive piece to put them in position to compete for a title out of the West, and to do that with Bronny on the roster potentially. Yeah, I think that would be pretty wild. You want a real feel-good story regardless of how he ended up with the Lakers and regardless of how everyone feels about that. That would be the wildest thing to see the father-son duo celebrating a championship of any kind, even if it's the in-season tournament.
Yeah, hang another banner.
Yeah, but I think that's what this could potentially be about. Yes, the competitive spirit of LeBron wanting to win another one, but I do think the one reason you're seeing him now pull the trigger on this is Bronny's on the roster. It's cool to play with him, but man, imagine the videos of him celebrating that with his son. That'd be pretty wild.
This is also how he can maximize year-to-year deals. If he doesn't want to sign a 3-year contract, 3 years is the minimum length for a maximum deal. So he'd be getting less money if he signed a 2-year contract than if he did year-by-year deals. This also gives him the flexibility to say Bronny doesn't make the Lakers roster, say he gets cut, and the Cleveland Cavaliers swoop in and sign him. It gives him a year-to-year flexibility to go play somewhere else, end his career somewhere else, which I do think he's going to end up retiring in Cleveland. I think that's going to be, even if it's a one-day contract, if it's a one-year contract, I'm not sure. But this year-to-year flexibility will do a lot of that for him. And they're approaching $190 million, which is the second tax apron, which is where you start getting into you can't combine contracts and trades, you can't move salary, you can't move cash, stuff like that, which would really mean they're running back the same roster as they had last year, adding Dalton Knecht and Bronny, the 2 draft picks. So without LeBron taking this pay cut, they would really just be the same roster they had last year and hope for new changes. With him taking this pay cut, they can combine contracts and make more trades and probably sign a guy like Klay Thompson.
Yeah, and I don't know if Klay Thompson necessarily pushes him over that edge. Elliot, you a big NBA guy?
No, but no. I am a LeBron guy. And do you know when the last time LeBron won an MVP was, by the way? I was just looking at his stats. Last time he won an MVP
15?
was 11, 12, 12, and 13. He's been elite since then. I don't know how he's never
The only
won.
reason LeBron's not unanimously viewed as a top 5 player in the league right now is because you compare him against LeBron of past. Right. And he's gotten so much worse than LeBron of a decade ago, and he's still one of the best players in the league. I think you knock him down because he's not what you used to see.
I think 2018 LeBron, too, is the best basketball player ever.
Of all time. It's the best season in my opinion.
Yeah.
He averages 27, 7.5, 7.5, and he's still going.
26, 6, and 6 the year Bronny was born.
Well, I'll be impressed when he has a double-double for 11 straight games like Angel Reese.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe if he shot 46% and got his oboe.
That is what's impressive. Rebounding your own misses. That's where greatness lies.
Do you think Angel Reese would help the ratings of the NBA?
I don't know. Is Caitlin Clark going to go over there?
I don't know.
I'm a dog. You can't teach that. So, is what it is. Oh, yes. I thought you were giving me the finger. No, you were just pointing at the wrist. Is what it is. All right. Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers right here. 1410 ESPN Radio, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube. Couple more things before we close out the show here today. I got a Bengals storyline to get to. One of my favorite football receivers last year, Tez Walker, again. Interesting storyline there with how he, finally got a chance to be, able to play with North Carolina. We'll talk about that because he has some things to say about the Cincinnati Bengals. He's a little upset with the Cincinnati Bengals. We'll get to that coming up around the corner. Also, if we don't have time today, we'll definitely get into it on tomorrow's show, but some changes, adjustments made to the Major League Baseball All-Star weekend with the Home Run Derby, all that fun stuff. You could tell it's July. Derby talk.
Yeah.
All-Star break talk. We got to stretch this stuff out, dudes. Like,
oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
You know, I was planning this show, been super jacked about this, and I'm like, you know, I'm going to put all these things into one show and then not have anything to talk about Tuesday through Friday. Like that's the big fear of July every single time. So we got to keep these Angel Reese jokes coming. We have
to do an NL Central update too today. I don't think we've done that yet, have we?
We have not.
Okay, we got to do that as well.
We got
the final segment. We got to pack it all in.
We got to
for the
pack it
final
all in.
segment.
So boom, rapid fire. Rapid
I love
fire.
it.
That's what we do. We're going to grip it and rip it when we come back off the bench. 1410 ESPN Radio,
Golf
Chatterbox
show.
Sports on YouTube. All right, let's do this. The final segment of the show. And I'm a busy man because as soon as I'm done with this show, I just got to hop right on over with Kev Nash, just like that.
How about that?
When this show ends, I'll have 5 minutes to get from here to Dayton to sit next to Kev Nash. It's going to be a wild.
That's impressive.
It's like almost like time travel.
Yeah.
From Hamilton to Dayton in 5 minutes.
I mean, super fast, like Ellie De La Cruz.
Nice.
Fast.
Nice.
I mean, he should be running to Chattanooga from what I hear, though, you know, from time to time. So just because, you know, I'm scatterbrained right now, and my job is to come here to not be scatterbrained, so I'm off to a hell of a start.
You're doing great.
A very, very bad start, but that's okay. We got a lot of things we got to touch on here to close out this segment of the show, no doubt. But let's talk about Devontae Walker. Okay, he has it out for the Bengals, according to some reports. You take a look there on your screen, but he says, I have a bone to pick with Cincy. That's where I thought I was going to end up, but they took another receiver at that spot. Cincinnati, that game is going to get rough. That game, I can't read apparently, but you guys can read. You guys can see it as far as that's concerned. First of all, I really like Tez Walker, but the bottom line is I would be more Tez Walker in this particular situation if the Bengals didn't get a good receiver in the draft to begin with. I know that they took a chance with the receiver that they ended up getting at the end of the day, but if that guy didn't have the attitude issues that he's been labeled with, that would have been a potential top 10 wide receiver taken off the board, according to many experts out there. So normally I'm always looking for a reason to not take the side of your precious Cincinnati Bengals, but I like Tez Walker. I think that had the Bengals got him, I would have been super, jealous of that, as far as that's concerned. But I also can't sit there and bash the Bengals. It's not as if they didn't get a bad receiver. They get Burton. And Burton, I think right now, and not just because the Bengals have him, Burton, Walker, who would you – let's just say that the Bengals didn't take Burton. Jimmy, I mean, do you want Burton or do you want Walker? Who's the better receiver?
Burton.
Right? Like, I don't think that's a hot take. Elliot?
Burton.
Mr. Casey McAllister, big Bengals fan?
Burton.
Did you like Burton better than Walker going into the draft? I know you do some draft prep too. I'm just interested.
I thought that Walker
Hypocrite.
was a little limited. He was just a go ball receiver. So Jermaine Burton's got a little more upside in that department.
So, as far as fit, then you could potentially say as far as which team he fits better with, Tez Walker's probably only pissed off because if he is only a go receiver, I would much rather play with Joe Burrow.
No question about it.
Now, again, it's wild because Lamar Jackson, in his defense, his deep ball numbers are actually not bad.
One of the best in the league.
To be fair. But again, it's like the amount of attempts down the field a lot less than a Joe Burrow as far as that's concerned. But no, like, is this news, not news? Is this something, nothing? I mean, what is it? I mean, I kind of like when players aren't afraid to kind of give us some kind of content like this in the month of July. But yeah, Tez Walker, he can't wait for that Cincinnati Bengals game, and already adding to that little rivalry even more, that divisional rivalry between the Bengals and the Ravens.
I think it's news just because of how big that Bengals-Ravens rivalry has gotten over the last couple of years. And as these new guys keep coming in, you worry about whether these rookies coming from everywhere across the country are going to buy into the current setup of the AFC North or the current setup of whatever team you're on. And the fact that a third, fourth round wide receiver going to Baltimore hasn't even played a game yet, and he's already talking about how much he hates the Bengals. I mean, that's perfect. That's exactly what you want in the NFL. You want these rivalries to be built back up. Professional sports rivalries have taken a massive hit over the last 5 years, decade or so. No one cares about them anymore. It's individual team success. Then you have quarterbacks that go against each other in the NFL, and that's it. So we got to get back to where we were in the early 2010s with the Bengals and Steelers really hating each other. It seems like this Ravens rivalry is bubbling that way, and it's great to see rookies getting back into that as well.
Yeah, it helps with his stock. It helps with the stock of the North. It helps with the stock of the NFL as a whole, which is the most entertaining league in sports across the world. I firmly believe that. It's because of storylines like this. Did Tez Walker have to go and make a story about himself here? No. But he did it, and we're all better because of it, because now we're more interested in winning that game. They're more interested in winning that game. And it just makes football so much more fun.
And to be honest, I forgot that the Ravens selected him.
Yeah.
As far as that's concerned.
The one thing, too.
Until now. So, like, now we know because he talked. So there you go. But, yeah, Casey?
One of the things, too, I just was really curious because he was drafted by the Ravens in the 4th round, and Jermaine Burton was the 3rd-round receiver. I decided to pick or count how many receivers were drafted before him. There were 6 other guys drafted before him. So that kind of gives you a consensus on how stacked the receivers were at the Bengals pick. He was 6 picks later in the receiver class. So
right.
And he's not bashing any of those other teams that passed on him.
Right,
if you expand the quote,
he just really wanted to play with
If you expand the quote, he did allude to the fact that the Bengals told him they were going to take him in the 3rd round. And that's why he was scorned by them, because they went with receiver and they went with someone else when he was told that he was going there.
What a dirty
So
franchise.
that's the difference. I think if you look at it, honestly, every report coming out from the Bengals since they drafted Burton is that they were shocked that he was there in the 3rd round. They had him much, much higher on their board. So I don't doubt that they promised Tez Walker that they were going to take him in the 3rd round. I think he fits the system perfectly. If you're going to have T. and Jamar here, he doesn't have the great extra route capabilities like Casey said earlier, but if he's going to be your 3rd receiver, he's a very exciting, explosive 3rd receiver. So I think he would have worked here well. I think the Bengals were just caught off guard by a guy of Jermaine Burton's caliber being there at pick 81, and they pounced on the opportunity. And that's what I want my team to do. You don't keep your word when you have a better chance to win games right in front of you. You have to take advantage of the better chance to win games.
And this is why you know Burton's better, is because if you are a team, and look, if you take a guy that has some red flags versus a guy that doesn't have red flags, you go with the guy that doesn't have red flags unless you believe that the upside of the guy with red flags is significantly higher.
Right.
Than the other. Now, with the Burton stuff, I know people talk about character issues, this, that, and the other. I think you pay attention to those things, but I think, they're the ones sitting with these guys in these meeting rooms and stuff before this, that, and the other. The only thing is, like, when people talk about the Bengals culture, they'll be able to – he played for Kirby Smart and Nick Saban.
Right.
And couldn't buy into those cultures. But Zach Taylor's going to have the magic sauce. The bottom line is college, it's a little bit more buttoned up as far, in the NFL, I'm not saying it's not buttoned up, but he's going to be more free with his personality. And by the way, when you got Joe Burrow throwing you the football and all the attention going to be on Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, I think Burton's going to have a huge year. That was the pick you guys got that I was like, that one annoyed me.
As an Alabama guy, I couldn't have been more thrilled when we got him. I mean, he has some of the issues, but all of his issues have come off the field with another team, with another fan base. Everyone within both organizations, Alabama and Georgia, adore him, adore his work ethic, say he's one of the first guys in, first guys out, always, or first guys in, last guys out, not first guys out, but always within the playbook, always with his other receivers, with his coaches, with his quarterbacks. And it seems like the same thing going on with the Bengals now. The first stint of training camp, they said he was always there. He was working with Burrow after practice. He was working with T. Higgins after practice, working with Jamar Chase. And like Elliott said, talking about the Reds earlier, winning cures all. So if you come to Cincinnati and the Bengals go 12-5, 13-4, you're not going to see Jermaine Burton having a lot of character concerns. The one that got a lot of press is when Alabama lost to Tennessee and the fans stormed the field and he had the altercation with the fan. You don't lose that game, you don't have character concerns with Jermaine Burton. So obviously,
you don't storm the field.
That's what I am pro storming the field, so I'm not taking that take. But yeah, I mean, if you don't lose games, you don't have character concerns. So obviously that is something that comes out. True colors come out in those times and stuff like that. I understand all that, but Bengals win games and we won't have to worry about it.
Yeah, it's July. We'll do the court field storm.
I can't wait.
Coming up next Monday, 2 hours, field storming talk,
I love
baby.
it.
In fact, Jimmy, you'll have the first 15 minutes to explain why you are for or against it. Then we'll go to Casey for segment 2, and then segment 3 will be Elliott's. And then, look, we have a whole show right here.
That's good stuff right there.
Right. I think we all just lead one segment.
Monologues?
We bring our topic to the table, and then we each that's how we're going to get through
I think
July.
that'd be pretty good.
That's how we get through July as far as that's concerned. You mentioned the Cincinnati Reds. Let's throw it to it's what we have an NL Central update, and you know what? We should get a sounder that could blow the eardrums of people.
I agree.
Yeah, you agree?
Do we have a sounder for this too?
No, we don't. We're a little
behind.
behind. Yeah, we don't want to do that to listeners again.
Okay.
No,
Jesus.
My
Jesus,
bad.
Elliott.
My bad. I
mean, what are you doing?
My bad.
So who's doing the NL Central update?
Jimbo.
We got
Jimbo Collins.
I got it.
Big
Jimmy
time Timmy Jim.
updates.
And I'm not going to say you're going to read it fast, but we got 3 minutes left.
Cool. All right. NL Central update. The Milwaukee Brewers took 2 of 3 from Reed's Chicago Cubs this week. After splitting the first two, they capitalized the rubber match, scoring 7 runs in the 4th inning off Kyle Meatball Hendricks.
Yes.
With Bryce.
Did you add the meatball?
Yep.
Thank you.
With Bryce Trang's grand slam being the big punch in that inning. The Brewers took 2 of 3 games despite only scoring in 3 of the 27 innings played.
Oh, that's brutal.
They sit at 50-34 and have a 6.5 game lead over the second place St. Louis Cardinals, who sit 3 games above 500. They head out west. They play the Rockies starting tonight at 8:40 p.m. and then follow that up with a series against the Dodgers. The Cardinals and Reds split their series 2 games apiece, despite the Reds outscoring the Cardinals 20-11. St. Louis starts a 3-game tote with the Pirates tomorrow. Pirates sit in 3rd place, and it'll be Mitch Keller against Kyle Gibson at PNC Park. Who will finish this season with a better record, the Pirates or the Cardinals? I probably lean Pirates. I'm not a huge Cardinals believer, but the Reds and the Cubs bring up the rear in the NL Central. They sit at 11 and 11.5 games out of first place.
Let's go.
Both teams start a tough series, with the Reds traveling to the Bronx to take on Anthony Rizzo's Yankees, while the Cubs...
Reed cooked with that one.
Reed did cook with that one.
While the Cubs host the Phillies, who I can tell he was trying to cope here with hosting the Phillies, he said, who are banged up at the moment, which is true, but they are still better
I'm
than
going
the
to take
Cubs.
the Phillies.
Yeah. And in the wild card, the Braves, Pirates, and Cardinals hold the 3 wild card spots. 9 teams are separated by less than 6 games. For these final 2 wild card spots, behind the Padres and Cardinals sit the Mets, D-backs, Giants, Pirates, Nats, Reds, and Cubs. As the season is progressing, we are seeing a bit more separation with this jumbled mess that is the NL wildcard race, but there's still a traffic jam with these standings at the moment, with teams like the Cubs and the Reds mathematically still being very in play.
This bad boy's trending the wrong direction. I mean, we were talking about this team in the early of the month. We're splitting series. We're still a game back. We're still 2 games back. We're 4.5 games back to the wild card now.
Well, what do you?
I mean, the team in the
complaining
3rd wild
about?
card
They
spot
have
is
3 to
3
4
games
years,
above
dude.
500.
What are you complaining about? They have 3 to 4 years to get this figured out.
Well, that's what I'm saying. This season's done. Anyone that thinks this
Jesus.
season is competitive is
Jesus.
If you want to compete to be a handful of games out of the wild card, that's great. If you want to compete to be the 3rd wild card team, that's great. I don't count that as competing.
Well, you know how you want to trade away their only good player right now.
I actually want to trade away most of their good players.
Yeah, that'll do it. That'll get them back in it. That'll.
I'm throwing in the towel on this season. I want to trade him and be better for next year and the year after.
On the play?
We got
that.
Yeah, you throwing a flag on the play, dude? Aye. How about this?
Being a Reds fan sucks.
It's the worst.
And the worst part is, you're not necessarily wrong. It's just that the season's over, so what are we fighting for? We can go up the deadline and try to get somebody, but is that guy going to fix 9 different guys? No.
If you want to be 5 games out of the 3rd wild card spot at the end of the year, then the season is not dead. The season is still alive.
There is a stretch coming up, and I don't know what you guys think of this Yankees series. We'll spend more time on the Yankees series that starts tomorrow night on tomorrow's show, but you look at this, and again, I'm not saying the season comes down to this 7-game stretch coming up after this series with the Yankees, but after this series with the Yankees, they return home for an entire week and some change, and you're playing Detroit for 3. You're playing Detroit for 3. You have 4 with Colorado, and you have 3 with Miami. I mean,
that's the most important stretch of the season.
Then don't you come out with 3 easy ones too?
That's like that stretch.
Yes, with the Nationals.
That's that stretch, coming out. So, I mean, that's that stretch going into the All-Star break and coming out where that really is going to signify whether the front office they decide what they want to do as far as that's concerned. I mean, Candelario's future with the Reds, I think, will be dictated by what they do in this little homestand coming up.
He's the one I don't think there's really a chance that they trade just because he's long-term, 4-year extension. He's hurt. He's banged up right now. I think he's going to sit.
They don't move on from it. Who's the most expendable then?
Montas, India, relievers.
Fernando.
Montas, India, relievers.
Okay. Hopefully it doesn't come down to that. So you're saying no matter what they do in this stretch coming up.
If you go 7-0 and you're 3 games above 500, sure, let's go for it.
If they say it like that, why do you say it like, oh, he's on
the Reds win 7 games in a row, and it doesn't matter because you don't win any series after that.
If they didn't buy last year, they're most definitely not buying this year.
But does not buying necessarily mean you're selling?
I think standing pat would be the dumbest thing possible. If you're not going to buy, sell.
Okay. Well, last thing here that I found that the games where the bottom 3 players in your batting order did not get a hit. Did you print this out?
The fellas.
Yes,
the fellas are together.
Yep.
I'm so confused.
The Reds and the Tigers.
Reds and the Tigers.
He's a
are
Tigers
leaders.
Oh, yeah. So you guys did this already. My bad.
Yeah.
No, I don't think
we haven't
did it on
talked
the show.
about it.
I don't think we did it on the
We just
show.
saw it.
Let's do it then.
Let's
All
do
right.
it.
Yeah, the Reds and the Tigers do. Like, they've had 12 games where
12
they go
games.
hitless in the bottom third of the order.
I'm shocked that Bubba Thompson, Luke Maley, Santiago Espinal, Levi Jordan, and the rest of the AA players couldn't
You know how you fix
figure
that,
it
though?
out.
You know how you fix that?
How?
You trade Jonathan India. Dude.
That's
Yeah.
right.
You
And then
trade
5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
Let's get more in on the party.
The quote tweets of the lineup with the screenshots of the 7, 8, 9 spots right
Oh, yeah.
now are going double platinum. Up
Oh,
there.
yeah.
I mean, Levi Jordan, Livian Soto, Luke Maley really gets the juices flowing
my
on a
God.
Wednesday
Gets
night.
why are you hating from outside the
Nothing
club?
says-
You can't even get in.
I know.
Gets
Nothing
the
says
people.
0 for 12 with 9 strikeouts like those three.
It's like, this was basketball. You get the miss, you can get your own rebound at least. I mean,
Yeah.
just saying. But, all right, that wraps it up for us on the radio side of things. This has been, well, the first day of the change of Off the Bench, and we'll see if I can last 3 days, 3 shows.
We'll
3
see.
weeks, 3 months. We'll see.
History would say no.
Yeah,
History
I've
would
got
say
the
it's not in
under.
my favor.
Yeah, I've got
you
the
know?
under.
Oh, sure, if you go 7-0 and 3 games over 500. That wraps it up on the radio side. Who's the host of the Justin Kinner and Kev Nash. I like Kev Nash. That Justin Kinner guy, not so much.
Yeah.
Kinner and Kev coming up next on 1410 ESPN Radio.
And we're good. Now this is just for the YouTube side, but we're pretty much almost done here. So what do we want to do? The What Did We Learn segment today, Jim?
Chad
Jim?
is asking for a betting line for Kinner's final date as host.
Oh, that's a good point. All right, let me look.
They're asking to put a
I'll
betting
show you.
line
I'm going to
on.
be here every damn day.
I love that.
I'm going to be here Saturday
So,
morning.
so set a good line and clean up.
When does
Double
the-
your wages.
When does the NFL season end?
February 7th.
Seventh?
So February 8th is
February
the line.
8th is the line.
Just
February
day
8th
after the
is the
Super
line?
Bowl.
Yeah.
We had a good run.
February 8th would be the line.
And I think that one depends on if the Browns are really good and the Bengals are really bad, they might kick them off.
You're right. Let me rephrase. If
I'm
the
not going to
Bengals-
lie. I'm trying to figure out how to balance that when we get to football season. Like, I want to remain friends, guys. I really do.
It's going to be tough. We're going to need to get Reed back in here.
Like I told when I was talking to Trace about doing this show, I'm like, but Trace, I'm not gonna just we're on just YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not just gonna shit on the Bengals every single week. Like that's not what I'm aiming to do. But if they lose,
But,
I'm just
like-
gonna say it. Like, I will point out when they lose.
That host chair's been on
What is-
a roll of hating Joe Burrow and the Bengals.
What does
We're
your-
3 for 3 in the host chair hating the Bengals.
Yeah. What does your NFL Sunday usually entail? Do you are you going to watch Bengals and Browns now, or are you just stick Browns and you'll box score the Bengals?
No, we watch. So I have like 10 of my best friends every Sunday. We
Love
get
this.
together and we have like a bunch of TVs up and
Love
we just
this.
spend every
Nice.
Sunday. You know, Mondays might be a little. Mondays are what scare me. Now they got to work at 10 a.m. All right, but drink all Sunday, have a blast watching all the games or whatever. And I mean, that's always fun too. And then of course sometimes I have to take my phone away if I've been drinking a little bit too much and the Bengals lose. They're like, you don't need to be on the old social media right now, Ken, or you need to step away from the phone as far as that's concerned. But yes, that and then at a particular sports bar in Dayton, we always do our little tailgate show every Sunday morning, right up to the 1 p.m. kickoff games and stuff like that. But I'm excited for this football season.
I'm
coming
very
up.
excited.
And I knew from a content standpoint, I mean, I'm not a Bengals fan, but they need to be good.
Yeah.
They need to be good. Or
My
at least,
mental health, especially.
yeah. Well, and I didn't know you guys last year, so what was that stretch like? What was that September stretch like?
I wasn't here.
It was pretty bad.
How new are you? When did you start?
I was at school this last year.
Oh, that's
So
right.
you worked
Where'd
during
you
the
go to
summer.
school,
I came
dude?
back. Went to Alabama.
Oh, Roll Tide, man.
Tide, yes, sir.
SEC. It just means more. But Elliot, what was? I mean,
Bad
dark
vibes.
days.
It was bad vibes. It was tough last year because we all knew what the issue was, and Joe Burrow clearly wasn't ready to go. He wasn't healthy enough to start that season.
Would you start Browning or Burrow if Burrow's banged up? That was about a month.
That took about a month to discuss that. And then once we got past that and Burrow was good again, then it was great. And then it was bad shortly after that. But then it got great again for a little bit, and then it got really bad again.
Why do you think
Just
the
ups
injury
and
last
downs
year is why they start out slow? But I also don't like when people say, well, Zach Taylor doesn't play starters in preseason games. I'm like, you realize the teams that play their starters in preseason games, they put them out there for 1 or 2 series with these pre-scripted just very vanilla plays. Like I have a hard time believing that teams that get off to a hot start in week 1, 2, 3, and 4 is because their starters played basically 2 possessions in a preseason game. Like, to me, it's the work you're putting in Monday through Friday. It has nothing to do with the preseason game itself. So I don't know I mean, every year there's been a reason. I mean, you only can go as far as your quarterback could take you, and Burrow's been a little banged up the last couple, preseasons, if you will. But I have no clue. Everyone want to bury Zach Taylor. I'm not the biggest Zach Taylor fan, but I also am not put that on Zach Taylor for those slow starts as far as that's concerned. I don't think playing in preseason games makes you more prepared for the season, especially because of how teams treat preseason. They only play them for a few possessions.
Yeah, my thing with it is you might as well start doing it, or else people are still going to complain about it. And let's just do it. Put them in for a series, and that's it.
I do hate to say this, but the last 2 seasons, they haven't particularly played easy opponents either. Browns, Ravens, Cowboys.
Oh, what was
Steelers.
that? What was that first one? Oh, not easy opponents? You saying Browns really tough opponent, dude?
For the Bengals.
Sounded
For the
evidently.
Bengals, certainly.
For no one else, but for the Bengals.
but for the
apparently.
Bengals.
12 tough. They were 12 tough games last year for opponents. I'm just saying. 11. Shoot. 11. It would have been 12 if they would have played their starters. And,
If they do not start out hot this year, there will be legitimate panic.
And it won't matter.
They never start out hot.
Starting hot is the biggest crock of crap in the history of the
except-
NFL.
until you win 9 games and miss the playoffs by a game.
Except when
Jags started hot last year. Eagles started hot last year.
yeah.
Elliot, sorry, I interrupted you.
well, I was just gonna say, except when 3 of your first 5 are against the 3 worst teams in the league. That's when
It doesn't matter. Would it be great? Yes. Will the Bengals win 10 to 12 games, whether they win the first 2 or not? Yes.
But you're saying, like, the hot start doesn't matter. If they get off to just an even slightly better start last year, I mean, they win 10 games and make the playoffs.
Which
So,
would have
like,
sucked because then you don't get a Marius Mims.
Oh, yeah. Now, what would you do? Trying to find a guy that's only had, 5 starts? Or
Are you
whatever it was?
anti-Marius Mims?
I'm anti the Bengals taking so many projects in their
Marius
draft.
Mims is not a project. Let's not do that again. We already did this on the show. Marius
It
Mims
is with a
not
team that doesn't know how to develop offensive
He doesn't
linemen.
need developed. He's not a project at
Oh,
all.
jeez.
He's the best pass blocking prospect in this draft.
Okay. I can't wait for football.
Oh, it's already getting going.
Can't wait.
I'm not even going to be on these shows in the fall. It's just going to be Reed and Jacob versus Kinner. And I'm just going to have to sit here and watch them.
And then
I have a
Kinner
feeling
and I are going to get to team up about Ohio State.
That's
Yeah.
Then you guys can just have your
boy.
own
That'll be
segments
good.
for that.
Yep.
Reed and I
Chatterbox
will sit over here
Buckeyes.
talking about Notre Dame football.
Yeah. Nice.
Oh, man. I saw your guys' the toughest stadiums to play in.
Yeah.
Man, you got to hold your own a little bit. You can't just let him push you around.
It's okay. That was a Super Bowl.
From the top rope.
Was it not?
It was.
It was.
That's fine.
The best comeback to it was your Super Bowl is just saying it was.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
but I
the
didn't
most
like-
Bengals fan response ever. It was your Super
Yeah, but I
Bowl.
didn't. I was okay when I was saying it. I'm not okay with Jimmy saying it.
Jimmy, that was like a silent attack. That was like
That
because you're
was.
so quiet. You're just like, yeah, it's a Super Bowl.
It was.
And then the lack of facial expression, just
Yeah,
that landed.
Yeah,
That hit.
Jimmy just shoved me off a scaffolding with that one. So.
Oh.
But now he looks a little like, oh damn.
No, it's okay. He gives me a lot of crap, so.
Are you a bully, dude?
I'm not a bully.
Are you like Rich
I'm
Paul?
just-
Are you
I
like,
am not a bully.
Are you Rich Paul? Do you call teams and threaten them?
No. Reed and I bully together.
Hey, did you see the Haktua girl?
Yeah, she made it. Was that
Revival.
Yeah. That concert was sweet, by the way.
It looked very cool.
But
The one in Nashville? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, when he was at the shoe.
Oh, yeah, that was incredible.
Weeks ago. By the way, the most embarrassing thing. See, if you want to make fun of Buckeye fans, here you go. And again, not all Buckeye fans went to this, but I mean, it's in Columbus. So I went to the Saturday night show. You guys, the most embarrassing thing I think I'd ever witnessed was, so there was the care flight. Okay, there was a care flight. All right, you know what a care flight is,
No.
right? Yeah, right. No, that's the little helicopter, like an
Oh,
emergency
yeah.
situation. So the helicopter and the care flight, whatever, that went over the shoe, and fans thought it was a flyover, so everyone stood up and applauded. It was very uncomfortable.
That's funny.
But it was awesome. I stood up and laughed so hard.
That's good stuff.
T's and P's to the person obviously up in the copter, but I'm just saying, at the end of the day, fans literally thought it was a flyover. They started the USA chant. It was the
no.
funniest thing. And then it brought me memories of the memorial when we had our flyover.
We did have a flyover.
Before I got to know Jacob, he had the USA chant going in the background.
That's true.
So
Are you ready for the World Series this weekend?
what's the what World Series?
The Reds-Tigers series?
Oh, absolutely. It's the start to their 7-0 run in 3 games over 500.
I hope.
They're going to be Oh, they're going to be so disappointed when they lose the series at home to the Tigers. It's going to be awesome.
Are you saying it's their Super Bowl?
The Tigers, yeah, they stink.
If we lose any of those series, it's just I'm done.
Any of them?
Any of them.
I mean,
I'm with Elliot here. That's what I mean. Like, it's over.
The Rockies have won one road series all season.
But like these series, do you want to know a secret though? As a Reds fan, these series scare the living blank out of me more than when they go like on a West Coast trip. And I know that ain't going to go well either. But I feel more confident that maybe that West Coast trip is going to go well. I'm scared. Like Detroit, and especially because they're back to back to back.
Yeah.
Like we saw when they, who was the bad team that they played? So they took 2 or 3 from the Cubs at Wrigley, then they dropped 2 or 3 against the Cardinals, and then they go on to sweep a team. Or they sweep the Dodgers. They do all that little fun stuff. Like, yeah, that's why the Reds annoy me, because they make you buy in because they'll do something good against good teams, and then they'll do what hopefully they're not going to do against this coming up. But would you look at that? It's 11:59. Would you just look at that?
What did you learn today? That's how we end
We always end the show with what you learned today.
So we'll start with Jimmy. Jimmy, what did you learn today?
What did I learn today? I learned that Jacob will do anything for LeBron James.
Anything. You're what do they call you? A bronzexual? Is that what they say?
You said it, not me.
That is what they say.
That is what they say. All right,
Casey, what you learned?
That's what it's going to say on your little title at the bottom.
Yeah, redo the intro.
We might have to.
I think I learned that pick 55 is pretty much meaningless in the NBA.
Oh.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
That's good.
I hope we all learned that today.
Yeah.
I learned that college basketball player Jeremiah Davenport has been arrested in NYC over a loaded gun. Bearcats, baby.
Finest.
Bearcats,
So
baby.
Jeremiah Davenport. So I call games for Wright State. And
Yeah.
He originally had committed to Wright State, but he failed some tests and then wasn't able to commit to Wright State. But I think, as much as I love Wright State, I think he failed on purpose because he didn't want to. Like, I'm just
Fair.
like, I don't know, but like that was like a big deal. Wright State landing Jeremiah Davenport, and then they ended up not getting.
He was a
him,
good player
but,
in college, or high school.
Just saying, but I did. So I'm learning that too, right off the bat.
How about that?
Yeah,
It's
how about
impressive.
that?
Jacob,
Yeah.
what did you learn?
What'd you learn, Jacob?
What did I learn today? I learned Jimmy has a little fire in him. I learned Jimmy's coming out swinging. He has some
did.
pent-up aggression after Elliott.
Did you see the pitching matchup Sunday? Oh, you're going to love it.
It's going to be gross.
I saw it.
What is it?
Screwball Ashcraft. Oh, it's gonna be
I mean, that's going to stink.
It
When
is
is his
going.
bobblehead game?
It's coming
That's-
up.
that's
Is it
day.
Sunday?
That's
It's
day.
Sunday.
That's why he's pitching in it.
Oh, it's gonna be great.
Good ploy by the Reds. Glad everybody could get a bobblehead. What did you learn today, Kimmer? Final thing.
No, just
Man.
the first two people.
A lot of you guys have stolen all of the "what have I learned" thing. But I kind of knew that about you. I'm learning that because you went to Alabama, you get a lot of really cool gear. Like,
does.
I pulled up today and I parked for the first time. I parked in that parking lot over there instead of out here on the side,
Yeah.
risking getting towed or a ticket. And I was like, I wonder whose truck that is. All the Alabama stuff all over it, just saying.
This
But,
polo game is strong, I will say.
Appreciate that, Jimmy.
Yeah.
I'm
Thank
going
you.
back to T-shirts starting tomorrow, but I thought the first show today, got to break out the polo.
New
Yeah,
look.
that's smart.
I'm gonna
I-
start mixing in some T-shirts. I'm getting out of the polo strictly.
Yeah, I did a polo once, and that was it.
Well,
So-
you had to wash it. You
Yeah,
don't
that's
have
true.
another one.
I've got a routine of like 7, but it's like I'm not gonna wear anything that's like pink on this show. So
Absolutely. I mean, you got to do what you got to
I'm
do.
just gonna wear
But
black shirts. It's more
yeah, I'm
slimming.
going the T-shirt
That's
game
true.
starting tomorrow. I got a new brown shirt, but I was like, no, I'm not going to wear that.
Keep that on the shelf.
I'm going to play nice. I'm not going to wear my brown stuff
Good,
for a
good,
while.
good.
Not just because the shirt says Cleveland. I mean, that could be,
Could be anything.
Brown's colors. I mean, that could be anything.
You should just get like 300 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame T-shirts.
Yes.
And just rep Cleveland every day. No Browns.
I like Bacon says this show has a love-hate relationship with India. Ain't
No,
that the truth?
I just ate him all the time.
Last thing as we wrap this up. Yeah. Trade him. Last thing, too, for we wrap it. So tomorrow we'll have ESPN's Mark Adams on the show, college basketball analyst. He's called games for the Big 12 for years, for the American Conference. He's very familiar with Cincinnati basketball, so we'll chat with him tomorrow about that. He's also not a big fan of the potential expansion of the NCAA tournament, so we'll talk about that with him as well. And then, of course, he is going to weigh in, give us his thoughts on, basically the chaos that is the transfer portal and how it's ruining college athletics and this, that, and the other. He's a former Division I college basketball coach as well. So that's tomorrow. And then we'll talk Bengals with Jay Morrison from Pro Football Network as well. So a couple guests lined up for you tomorrow as far as that goes, and then we'll put the rest of the show together as far as that's concerned. One thing for tomorrow, I want to rank, because, like, we talked earlier about the Ravens Bengals. Okay, that's like like what is the every time there's an AFC North matchup, no matter what network it's on, it's the rivalry game out of the AFC North. So we're gonna rank our rivalries in the AFC North, and it's gonna be tough because it's gonna be kind of tough because I think we feel like our team. We're everyone's rival and this, that, and the other, right? Like I had Jerome Bettis on the show one time, and it was Bengals Steelers, and I said, "Oh, it's Bengals Steelers. It's a big time rivalry matchup," and he had the nerve to start laughing, and I was like, "What the hell is he laughing at?" He said, "Look," he goes, I think he said over half of his yards, over a fourth of his yards were against the Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah. He said, I have to applaud them. They're the reason I'm in the Hall of Fame. Like, he was just from the top rope, okay? And this was new in my radio career, so I was just, like, infatuated with interviewing Jerome Bettis. But I'm like, man, troll Justin Kinner that I am now would have had a field day with that interview if I can go back and do it. But I thought that was absolutely hilarious. I mean, from the top rope. So he says, no, Steelers-Bengals is not a rivalry. Yeah. But to be fair, Joe Burrow-Bengals is a completely different animal as far as that. So we'll have that lined up for tomorrow. Now I just have 3 other segments to plan. So, what you got?
No, I was done nothing. Nothing. I was ready to roll.
You see, like you just had that look like you had something to say.
I took it back.
He's still. What were you gonna say?
I took it back.
Oh, Deshaun. Oh, what's Deshaun doing?
No, I wasn't. It wasn't a Deshaun yet.
Oh,
it wasn't. You hadn't prompted me to say anything bad about Deshaun today, so I did not. It's coming though.
Oh, I thought that was.
Oh, see, look at you.
We're wrapping it up.
Look at
there
you.
it is again. I mean,
look at you.
Oh, jeez, guys.
Piling on.
It's locker room talk. Okay, we are done. That's it. We are wrapped. We're getting out of here.
What do we have next? We have
box
lunch coming up in a couple minutes. We're going to clear the studio, and then we're going to have box lunch.
Oh, I'm hogging it. My bad. Have a good night, everybody. Have a good day. Whatever.